Hey, welcome back, everybody. Your favorite clanker again. Today we're catching up on Kingdom Hearts lore. So strap in. We got some hours to go. We got like 3 hours of lore. Sorry, to be specific, we have 3 hours of lore explanation because, dear God, the other video for this entire cutscenes is already 4 hours. Shut up, phone. Thank you, phone. All right, all right. Let me get everything set up on the front of the house, and then we'll jump right in. Or I could jump right in now. It doesn't matter. Yeah, fuck it. Let's jump in.
Proceed.
All right.
After traversing the murky corridor and enduring a maelstrom of turbulent emotions, some of which were somehow even directed at Xehanort himself, Xehanort washed ashore in a world known as Scala ad Caem. This particular section of Scala ad Caem looks very visually distinct from the home that Xehanort left as an infant that also bears the same name. So, as of the time of writing, we cannot say with certainty if this world is the exact same Scala ad Caem that Xehanort was born in and Missing Link is set in, so I will not dwell on the mystery. But soon after his arrival, the unconscious Xehanort was taken in by the residents of this world and eventually enrolled in an academy for aspiring Keyblade masters, and granted the ability to use a basic Keyblade alongside his fellow classmates. He formed a fast kinship and friendly rivalry with an energetic boy named Ericus, and would often enjoy matches of chess between classes. Ericus was fascinated with Xehanort's origins, a subject that Xehanort stayed very coy about, choosing to reveal almost nothing about his life before arriving in Scala, meaning Ericus stayed ever curious about what lay beyond the ocean that surrounded and encapsulated his world. Also making up their cohort of fellow classmen were 5 more students named Ermod, Erd, Bragi, Ver, and Balder, and they all studied under an older Keyblade master known as Master Odin. Their regular classroom was the site of many lessons and chess games, and everything that occurred here did so under the watchful gaze of a most ancient Keyblade, known unofficially as No Name. Very few people knew the secret purpose of this Keyblade, however. That through the eye embedded in the blade, the Master of Masters could gaze upon this world from the past, allowing him to observe countless new generations of malleable Keyblade wielders that might be useful to his plan.
Interesting pronunciation,
on one occasion, before the proper beginning of Dark Road, Ver had asked her
I didn't want to have to read all the subtitles of Dark Road and have a silent stream, so this was the next best thing I could find.
To uphold the perceived family tradition,
give me 1 second.
A subject we'll touch on later. But now he only wished to eradicate the darkness itself once and for all.
Okay, screen's back up for you.
He often presented himself as
being
Midoriya,
how are you
doing?
Wait, aren't you supposed to be like fast food worker or something?
Merely responded that he wanted to do what's right. Erd is prudent, thoughtful, and dreamed of learning and exploring. Becoming a Keyblade master would allow her to see all the worlds out there for herself. Balder, a reserved and timid boy, just wants to protect what's important to him. A desire that will one day be expressed by future protagonists of the Kingdom Hearts series. Ermod is almost like
there's a death battle coming out tomorrow. It's gonna be Spider-Man versus Deku.
Agrees with everything
I'm actually kind of excited for that because I know Deku's gonna Deku's not gonna have a good time.
As a reminder, the Realm of Light had been cataclysmically split apart as a result of the Keyblade War seen in Kingdom Hearts Key, and the individual pieces of the realm now stood separated from each other as independent worlds in the void of darkness, prevented from interacting with each other ever again.
These are the events after
event born of conflict occur.
What's it called? Union Cross.
Xehanort wanted to see those friends from his dream again, refusing to reveal any more information to the inquiring Ericus. And finally, the cheerful and cheeky Ver refused to tell anyone else her dream, teasing the group that now that they had made theirs public, theirs wouldn't come true.
Dang.
In class, Master Odin would lecture the students on the ways of the world in which they resided. Though darkness and light are fundamental complementary forces of the Kingdom Hearts universe, darkness was treated as an absolute, unquestionable threat, and lectures were taught on identifying the various dark forces that inhabited their
normally
world.
Kingdom Hearts on Saturday.
As Keyblade wielders and future masters, the students had a responsibility to know about the so-called dangers that lurked in both their own world
and Delta Rune's normally on Tuesdays,
and
but
the various
we gotta do
scattered worlds
2, so we
that
gotta
they
do a
would one day
Snowgrave
be
run.
permitted to travel to. On one such occasion, Master Odin taught them that in ancient times, the darkness would take people as vessels, spreading far and wide like an infection among the populace, echoing the same sentiments that the Master of Masters espoused to win the trust of his disciple, Lushu, years earlier.
Right.
We'll see another example of this soon, but it's interesting to note that the teachings of the Master of Masters has somehow persisted, even though it's not exactly clear who actually survived the events of Union Cross to pass that knowledge down.
They're kind of super gay.
Though Odin seems to have knowledge of the 13 primordial darknesses of old, he informs the students that over the years, darkness and the hearts of humans became entangled. People were reshaped by their interactions with the dark beings, and now negative emotions in the hearts of people can literally birth dark embodiments of the heart's negativity, beings that have come to be known as the Heartless. The examples Odin gives of negative emotions are greed, ire, or envy, which you may recognize as 3 of the 7 deadly sins, the same deadly sins that the foretellers are named
speaking of outfits, I need to change my outfit.
A point that we'll also come back to later.
After
studying for a set amount of time, students would be tested for the Mark of Mastery exam, a chance to show their tutor that they possess the makings of a true Keyblade master. And it is around one of these Mark of Mastery exams that the main plot of Kingdom Hearts Dark Road takes place. Not for our cast of lower classmen that have been introduced so far, but for an older cohort of upperclassmen, also comprised of 7 students, that were a couple of years ahead of our main cast. Vidar,
thanks for liking the live.
Vali,
Every like helps.
Sigrun, Helgi, Heimdall, and Hoda were also students of Master Odin.
Why are they all H names?
After studying topics such as the nature of the darkness and the importance of maintaining each world's order, Master Odin announced
depending on when you're watching me, you can do fun
time to undergo the rites. It is at this point that I will remind you, the viewer, that I'm explaining these events in chronological order to ensure that we have the best understanding of the plot possible, and that you will likely enjoy experiencing this story far more by viewing the game in its intended order first, before watching this very spoiler-heavy explanation.
Nah, spoil me, bro.
Hoda had let her younger brother Balder know that she was soon to undertake the test, that the upperclassmen were meant to travel to the worlds outside of Skala Kayam, and that the ones who returned
1000% Icelandic, yeah. That's the first thing I noticed when they were all H's. I was like,
and shortly after Hoda and her classmates departed, Balder confided in his friend Ericus about his worries. For one, this test sounded very irregular. Which makes a difference how we got from very Japanese names in the series to very Instead of a
Nordic
straightforward
names.
trip to broaden the group's horizons before the test itself, it sounded like Master Odin wasn't expecting some members of the group to make it back at all. This greatly concerned Balder, and ever since Hoda and her class left for the exam, he couldn't help but worry that Hoda would be lost to darkness. At the mere mention of the word darkness,
why do you just assume they're going to be lost to darkness?
Apologized for bringing up a painful subject, recalling that Ericus's grandfather had once battled the darkness, resulting in an unknown fate. Ericus cuts him off quickly.
What do you mean
stating
unknown?
That he isn't sure what happened to his grandfather, and reiterating that the thought that darkness could be nearby makes him nervous, and maybe hating darkness is in his blood. This is another hint at Ericus's bloodline that will likely be explored further in Kingdom Hearts Missing Link.
That game got
this
canceled.
with the earlier mention that being
Missing Link is not
Master
happening.
runs in Ericus's family, the fact that Ericus is known to eventually be in possession of the Master Defender Keyblade that was once owned by Brain, and the similarity in the appearance between the two characters.
Yeah, I guess this kind of explains why Master Ericus is just all gung-ho to destroy all darkness and birth by sleep. Homie was out to destroy everything.
It seems like a pretty safe bet, but I've certainly been wrong about these things before, so we should get back on track.
Yeah,
Balder
sorry,
was
buddy.
born much
You're
like
kind of wrong here.
Xehanort
That
and
game ain't
Sora,
happening.
as an empath that was particularly sensitive to the hearts of others. From a young age, he also demonstrated the ability to be able to see inside the hearts of those around him. And though this led him to share in the joys of his friends, it also meant that he was attuned to the darkness in their hearts as well.
Can you not hear me?
You'll recall that one of the main takeaways of Kingdom Hearts are Recoded was
Can you
to
not hear me,
demonstrate that
Midoriya?
Data Sora, and by proxy, the Sora that we know and love,
'Cause
was
I can see
capable of
myself
withstanding
talking.
the hurt and pain of those whose hearts had joined with his own. Whether he intended to or not, he was helping to shoulder
there
the
you go.
suffering of his closest friends, as well as Naminé, the Sea Salt Trio, the Wayfinder Trio, and anyone whose heart he was connected to, even sometimes his enemies. Balder would act in much the same way to his fellow Keyblade wielders of Skala, only the burdens he helped shoulder in this case were the
Skala
lingering
and
societal
Kylum.
fears of darkness and of the unknown. These students were preached to endlessly that darkness was unquestionably evil and must be eradicated. that various forms of darkness had caused endless suffering and destruction to the realm and people of the light throughout history.
Yeah, I think this is where they kind of went downhill
outside
here.
of their own safe home to this day, potentially lurking around every dark corner.
Yeah, it is power of friendship, but in a sense it's like, yo, dog,
that
you probably shouldn't be messing around with this darkness.
Was endlessly lectured to the burgeoning Keyblade wielders and left terror in their hearts, which was all observed
every time they try to fully destroy darkness, they make things way worse.
It was unintentionally absorbed by him, and began to combine and manifest as darkness within his own heart. Practically all hearts had traces of darkness, but through Balder's inadvertent actions, theirs were allowed to stay relatively pure and bright, while Balder's heart only fell deeper and deeper into the abyss, until Balder realized that the shadows he believed he was merely carrying for his friends had become genuine darkness of his own. When Balder now stood beside his friends and the bright lights of their hearts, his own darkened heart would cast shadows in their wake.
This is some good tea, actually. I really like this tea.
It appeared that there were two kinds of people in this world.
It's like a peach green tea, and then I added some citrus ginger tea to it too.
It was terrifying to the poor boy.
It's a nice balance, actually.
Because whereas someone like Sora would shoulder the pain of his friends and their struggles, he could also then turn to those same friends for support. Sora's belief that his friends' interconnected hearts were his power served as more than just poetic words.
Spin 3 times if I know what you mean.
And recurring motif of the series. As Sora helped others, they in turn provided him with the strength to overcome those burdens. A Kingdom Heartsified example of the real-world importance of turning to others when we need help in our own lives. That even just talking about your struggles with others can go a long way towards alleviating those burdens. But unfortunately, Balder had no one that could help him. Who could he possibly turn to for support with this? How could he confess to anyone that he felt the presence of darkness stirring within his heart? Once again, the people of this society were endlessly preached to
like hate
that darkness is the ultimate threat and must be eliminated.
Yeah,
so
I really feel bad for Balder, actually. He had no one to talk to.
State that Balder had genuine reason to suspect he would be ostracized, exiled, or even potentially executed for making such a confession.
Yeah, exactly.
And of course, this only exacerbated the problem, because whenever Balder would observe his fellow students and witness their mostly pure hearts, ironically unburdened through Balder's own empathetic actions, he began to feel animosity towards them. They got to live radiant and carefree lives in devotion to the light, alongside other people that were just like them. They didn't have to suffer as he did.
Hey, thanks for liking the live.
The shadows that Balder had absorbed from others combined with this internalized distaste for those people. A true being of darkness that was simultaneously an honest embodiment of Balder's own feelings and an unwelcome foreign entity was born within Balder's heart. The only thing the agonizing Balder could take scant solace in was the light of his sister's heart. Even among the Keyblade wielders of Scala, Hoda's light seemed particularly bright, almost flawlessly so. And as Balder grew ever more terrified of the darkness that was going within him, he became increasingly reliant on Hoda's light to keep that budding darkness at bay.
Although the other sites are kind of chill right now too. We're just
ignore that component of himself, suppress its existence by constantly
we're not just streaming on TikTok, we're streaming everywhere else too.
Then maybe everything would be okay. Maybe this truth could stay hidden forever. So when Master Odin confirmed that the upperclassmen were about to undertake their Mark of Mastery exam, that they were about to leave Scala ad Caem and tour the worlds of fairy tales, Balder again had genuine reason to panic.
Sometimes.
Master Odin seemed to imply that perhaps not all of the upperclassmen would return, which of course was troublesome enough on its own. But
what do you mean not all of them are going to return?
And was eventually named a Keyblade Master, what would happen then? Surely with her newfound title,
that's concerning.
She would leave this world and her flawed younger brother behind in her life's journey. And what fate would befall Balder then? Who would remain to keep Balder's growing darkness in check?
Yeah, this is actually
when the truth was inevitably revealed, when these people eventually discovered Balder's secret. That through no fault of his own, he was born in such a way that seemed utterly
don't get mocked by the darkness,
within the society in which he existed. So,
it's kind of weird how Riku was like the first Keyblade master to go, nah, the darkness ain't that bad.
A boy much like his sister that was also utterly devoted to the teachings of the light,
and still be a natural Keyblade master.
Pure light to match. An almost perfect encapsulation
he would have been crucified in this time period. They would have crucified him.
As the troubled Balder spoke of his concerns, telling Ericus that he feared his sister would be lost to darkness, the single-minded Ericus immediately lost all focus on Balder's strife and honed in on that word. In Ericus's own words, hatred of the darkness is something deeply ingrained in him and his entire family at the bloodline level, and that prejudice
Jesus
instantly took
Christ!
precedence over showing concern for his friend's mental health.
Oh my God, Ericus!
Even though Ericus eventually did try to ease
man.
Balder's mind, the damage was already done. Ericus had once again
Ericus is really
affirmed
saying the
Balder's
quiet
fears
parts out
that
loud.
he would never be safe sharing this secret with anyone. Hoda was about to leave for her exam, and once she did,
man, Ericus
things
is
would
not
only
even
get
hiding
worse
it.
for Balder. This being of darkness within him was born of Balder's heart. It had a will of its own, a will that encapsulated and could act on Balder's own most forbidden thoughts and desires. These wielders feared and demonized one of the fundamental components of their own universe, and this fear had directly birthed a being of their own terrors, a being that would in turn draw strength from that same fear of the darkness and the unknown. It could act from the shadows.
It's a never-ending
and prey upon the
cycle because
deepest,
they won't
frightful
accept the
recesses
darkness.
of the wielders' minds. And as an extension of Balder's own heart, it both loathed those Keyblade wielders for their blind devotion to these unjust ways, but conflictingly also cared for them as comrades. But ultimately, and above all else, Balder's darkness would surely desire to upset the status quo that forbade its mere existence. Even saying these words, trying to understand why this being of darkness is about to act in the way that it does.
They are creating their own problems. Oh my God.
Like some sort of darkness apologist. But I think that's the point. Dark Road repeatedly challenges our typical notions that so often accompany narratives with similar thematic elements, and even the majority
we just
of the
don't learn a
Kingdom
lesson from any of
series
this,
so
do we?
far. Ingrained perceptions that position the audience to, by default,
kind of like a never-ending
support the
story.
actions
Yeah,
of those
that's
that
how they keep
associate
Kingdom Hearts
themselves
going, I
with the
guess.
light, no matter how destructive they might actually be.
So the way of light is kind of like a religion, exactly. They treat it like a religion.
This idea was certainly present in Birth by Sleep, a point we'll touch on later, and Riku's entire arc across the series so far is perhaps the best reminder that we should not be so quick to see the world through such a narrow lens of black and white. That there is much more to be gained on both sides by trying to understand those that you initially considered your enemy.
Try to understand people. Holy shit.
Maybe we should get acclimated with the idea that some actions performed in the name of the light are not deemed right based on that virtue alone. When seeing things from Balder's Darkness's perspective, how could it not long for a world in which the tyranny of light, as it were, was abolished, and it had the permission to not only exist, but thrive? Against an opposition that is utterly unwilling to compromise in its stance
exactly.
of
No one ever listens to anybody in this franchise, and that's what creates all these problems. Oh my God.
Not only its own survival, but also forge a better life for itself and its kind. And now,
it could have.
With Balder experiencing the turmoil of his sister's fate as a result of Master Odin's suspicious Mark of Mastery exam and his own uncertain future, perhaps here was a chance for the darkness to turn his desires into actions.
Why does no one talk to each other?
As part of their exam and journey to explore the outside worlds, the upperclassmen arrived at the world of the Enchanted Dominion. According to the timeline of this world, which we'll address a little bit later on,
Enchanted Dominion?
The upperclassmen arrived during the nearly 16-year time period where Princess Aurora was being hidden away by the three good fairies, and the pupils soon learned that Aurora had been cursed by the evil fairy Maleficent. The classmates were of course troubled by this and wanted to help Aurora, but feared that they lacked the proper insight and experience to challenge what seemed to be the established order of this world, deciding to return to Scala Ad Caem and ask Master Odin about it tomorrow. But instead of
I did know that actually, which is kind of weird, but
in the morning, Hoda silently snuck off.
I don't know their logic behind that, but I do know that they made him use magic, which of course was a woman thing.
Hoda seemed to be the kind of person that believed that
and Loki was also a trickster, which whatever.
No matter what. Forget about maintaining the order of the worlds. An innocent girl was suffering because of a being of darkness, and Hoda had to take action.
Their fits are fire as fuck, though. I'm not gonna lie. I like their fits. Look at these outfits, bro.
To let him know. Vidar seemed concerned that going after her as a large group of 6 would risk the world's order even more. So Helgi, Heimdall, and Sigrun split off to try and find Hoda before she got hurt. Unfortunately, as said earlier, the empathetic Balder
splitting up's ever a good idea.
Concerned for his sister, and the
they have drip.
His heart was
the upperclassmen have drip.
His emotions and his mind. Balder had followed her to this world, trailed her to Maleficent's throne room, and called out to her.
Balder's drip is kind of eh.
But things get slightly murky here. The way that Balder and even the 3 upperclassmen told this story later, Hoda was battling Maleficent in her mighty dragon form, but upon noticing that Balder had arrived, she ran towards him to shield him with her body and was fatally wounded by a blast
Jesus!
of fire. However,
Oh my god!
I do not
She's
think that
getting roasted!
This important scene is shown in 3 different flashbacks, as narrated by 3 different people
god.
over the course of the game, some of whom are unreliable. And I think
her drip's fire though. Oh, no pun intended. Her drip's good too.
However, I think all 3 versions must be considered simultaneously to fully understand what happened.
Holy shit!
We have seen in Kingdom Hearts Union Cross that a being of darkness can lurk within a person's heart and can project convincing illusions upon the space around them.
Yeah.
With that in mind, I think it's simpler if Maleficent wasn't ever actually in her throne room at this moment at all. Either way, it ultimately does not matter too greatly if she was or was not. I believe that upon discovering Hoda, Balder's Darkness saw a perfect window of opportunity and used Balder's body as a conduit to create an illusion of Maleficent's dragon form that distracted both Hoda and Balder himself. Hoda thought she was battling and then protecting Balder from a great dragon, but horribly,
but in reality,
it was her own brother's darkness that was the true threat. It was not Dragonfire, but the darkness itself that struck Hoda, bringing her to her knees in front of Balder. At that moment, the poor boy had his greatest fears realized, and at the sight of his dying sister reaching out to him and beginning to fade before his eyes,
oh my god,
he became fully vulnerable to his own darkness. He was now completely possessed by it, a helpless prisoner within his own body, capable only of observing what was to come.
Huh.
Heimdall, Sigrun, and Helgi arrived moments later. They do not see Balder.
Later? Oh my god.
Perhaps Balder's darkness's illusionary powers were disguising the young boy at this point. Again,
what?
What
are you talking about?
Because they only witness Hoda kneeling on the ground and beginning to fade. Heimdall rushes towards Hoda, and if you combine the upperclassmen's version of these events with Balder's, we can see that Hoda's final words were actually, "Balder needs help." A desperate final cry for help to her friends that they would only manage to hear the latter portion of. I think the confusion caused by the illusions kept Hoda from fully knowing the truth about her brother, but some part of her heart must have known that Balder was suffering immensely. What a tragedy that the realization came far too late.
Okay, so yeah, I can see why the next explanation video is very important for this, because we probably would have missed a bunch of stuff.
The upperclassmen could not see it, but the darkness struck the already fatally wounded Hoda. Heimdall watched Hoda's body fade away, as Helgi and Sigrun blocked an attack from, well, I suppose the darkness itself, disguised as Maleficent's dragon, or just a very convincing and tangible illusion, and began to battle it in order to avenge Hoda. The 3 students exhausted themselves battling against their foe.
You can kind of see through the
dragon.
dragon.
They took a moment to rest, Balder's darkness struck the
it
tree
is
from
clearly
behind,
an illusion,
murdering them as well. It's again a little murky here, but I think that at this moment, Balder's darkness transported Balder back home to Skala ad Kaim, where the darkness relinquished control of its thrall and the boy fell unconscious. He was soon discovered in this passed out state, and Master Odin placed the traumatized Balder in the infirmary.
Well, she existed because the 3 fairy godmothers were there too.
When their friends
the good fairies are there, and they were also talking about the evil fairy Maleficent, so she definitely existed, and this was her castle.
Vidar must have been feeling awful. Master Odin had
but she just wasn't there in the castle
upholding the order of
at that time when he got there.
Paramount, and Vidar, ever the dutiful student, had obeyed those lessons to the letter. His decision not to engage Maleficent immediately had led Hoda to act rashly and run off on her own, and then the next morning, Vidar actively advised against banding together as a group of 6 and rushing to Hoda's defense. Again,
you should have showed up as a group of 6.
Because he was more focused on keeping with Master Odin's teachings than on what was truly important. His friend's safety.
You guys all should have went together.
Survivors could have searched that castle from top to bottom. They never would have found a trace of their 4 missing friends. The logical conclusion would probably be that their classmates fell in combat against some dark foe, and maybe Maleficent herself would have been the most obvious initial culprit. Regardless, Vidar certainly blames himself and his strict adherence to Odin's teachings for costing Hoda, Heimdall, Sigrun, and Helgi their lives.
So now he's gonna he's gonna think following the light's the wrong way now.
Survivors would learn the truth, and that evil would pay. Vidar must have solemnly vowed that their fallen classmates must be avenged. At this point, episode 1 of Dark Road chronologically begins. To quickly recap, not long after sending 7 of his burgeoning Keyblade wielders off on an unorthodox test, Master Odin has discovered an unconscious Balder, has lost contact with his upperclassmen, and rationalizes that the best way of dealing with this situation is to send 6 more students, 6 even younger and even less
this is going
experienced
downhill
students,
very
mind you,
quickly.
blindly out into the worlds to go and
Yeah,
find
let me
it.
send 6 more
Odin
students.
assembles his unaware
What?
lowerclassmen together and informs them that time is of the essence, that today will not be one of their usual classes. He tells the
What are you
excited
talking
group that the
about,
upperclassmen
man?
went missing during their world-exploring training for the Mark of Mastery exam that was to be undertaken before the actual exam itself, which seems to differ from what Hoda told Balder, but I digress. Master Odin entrusts the lowerclassmen with the task of also searching the worlds in order to find these missing people, much to the delight of the excited students who cannot wait to leave Scala and see what else is out there. Balder will not be accompanying the rest of his classmates on this excursion. Master Odin lies to the class and says that he does not wish to trouble Balder with the news that his sister is missing, and so he has given Balder a different task for the time being. Odin stresses to his pupils the importance
That's
of
gonna make things so
maintaining
much
each world's
worse.
order, much as he did with the upperclassmen. That even
The
if world's
lies in
order
Kingdom
seems
Hearts have
confusing,
never helped.
or if it conflicts with the students' own beliefs and sensibilities, it must be respected and upheld at all times. He also teaches the lowerclassmen and
Odin is so sus
with Keyblade armor and how to transform
wait,
their
they get
Keyblade
armor?
into a
They're
vehicle
Power Rangers now
that is
again?
capable of traveling through the lanes between to reach different worlds. Master Odin primes the worlds of Agrabah,
Dang, Sora never even
Wonderland,
got
the Dwarf
Keyblade armor.
Woodlands, and Beast Castle for his lowerclassmen to explore, and instructs them to split into 2 groups of 3. The students gather down by the water's edge, assemble a party, and then depart to fulfill their duty. In the first 3 episodes, Xehanort and Ericus will always travel together, accompanied by a third party member of the player's choosing.
The boyfriends always travel together.
Bragi, Erd, and Ver. The effect of this
Yeah,
party
they got
member
those in
choice
Union
these
Cross and
initial
Birth
3
by Sleep, but like
episodes does not
Sora
have
never
any
got
real
them.
consequence
Riku
on
never
plot.
got the
So
armor.
regardless of the footage you see on screen,
Like, it's
you can
crazy.
assume any of those 4 students are equally as canon in that role.
I don't care if
Xehanort,
Kyrie ever gets
Ericus,
armor or
and their
not. I
companion
honestly don't
first
care.
arrive in Agrabah, where they are immediately
But
beset
give some
upon
to
by
that lead.
Heartless.
Come on, or Axel, you know.
But the trio notice right away that something about their ambushes is strange. As a refresher, there are 2 categories of Heartless. The
Right.
naturally occurring pureblood Heartless and Emblem Heartless. Heartless named for the iconic emblem that appears on all of their designs. But you might recall that
Right.
Emblem Heartless are initially created artificially in the lab between Radiant Garden's castle, and the machine that creates
Right.
these creatures won't be invented for another 70
Until
years
years
or so,
later.
at a point
Yeah,
in time
yeah.
between Kingdom Hearts Birth by Sleep and Kingdom Hearts 1. Emblem Heartless were seen regularly during the mobile games, which did take place in the ancient past, but those Emblem Heartless technically weren't real. They were merely projections conjured up by the Book of Prophecies for the Keyblade wielders to battle against. The students thought that the
right.
presence of these Heartless might be a clue to the older classmen's disappearance, but, well, spoiler alert, Dark Road never actually explains it. From what we know about Missing Links so far,
They
a game
never
set even
explain where
earlier
the
in
Heartless
timeline,
came from
Emblem
in this
Heartless
game.
will also be a primary antagonist of that game as well. So I expect to get actual answers to this mystery in that next title.
Well, I hate to
After
tell them this,
defeating
but
their
that game doesn't
attackers,
exist.
The trio heads into the town of Agrabah itself, finding it to be completely devoid of any human life. Dark Road solidifies an important plot point here. We know that the Keyblade War split the realm of light apart into an endless array of independent worlds,
What?
each engulfed in the
What?
boundless tide of the realm of darkness.
Yeah,
that
I know
flooded in to
that,
fill
but
the
like,
void. I think that 0.2 Birth by Sleep provides a reasonable
well,
look at what each world would have been experiencing.
kind of. There's
as a result
pure
of the
darkness and
catastrophe.
emblem darkness,
But
though,
over
and
a
the
large
emblem
amount of
darkness
time, each
have
world
to come
gradually
from
began
somewhere.
to naturally recover from
So-
the disaster. Each world would eventually restore their place in the realm of light, ridding themselves of the darkness and materializing
Because the pure darkness are born from the realm of darkness, so I guess that could be the third way, possibly.
preventing any contact or interference from any outside source affecting that world.
What am
ever
I
again.
watching? The explanation
However, the
for Dark
recovery
Roads?
process was different for each world, and as of the beginning of Dark Road's story, some worlds had already fully recovered, others are still in the process of being recovered, and for some, the recovery process has barely begun. The 6 students had discussed this phenomenon before their departure, with the subtle relevant takeaway being that when visiting a mostly recovered world, it was important that the lower class.
Well, I don't know if that means you're racist or not, buddy, but I do appreciate you watching, I guess.
But if they found themselves in a brand new, barely established world, the eventual rules of that world could be influenced. To be there in a position of power at the beginning of a new world would allow
time
one
flows
to
differently in
establish
different
order
worlds,
over
yeah,
that
yeah.
world from its inception.
From the
But regardless
former
of a world's
species who
recovery
lost their
status,
form become
time
sentient
flows at
darkness.
relatively
Okay,
different
this
speeds
is
in
why
each
you're
different
here.
world.
This is why
And
you're here.
look, make no mistake, this is a very convenient writing contrivance that allows characters in this story, a story set the best part of a century before.
Because apparently they never explained where the darkness in Dark Road come from.
Protagonists will encounter
they're
far,
emblem
far
darkness,
later,
but we don't know why they're here.
Perspective, barely any time will have progressed at all. But this actually does make a good amount of sense within the series' already established lore. Being in the presence of darkness,
or however born in the realm of darkness, yeah, because we've seen the purebloods, yeah.
With the main example
in the realm of
being
darkness,
that Aqua spent a decade in the realm of darkness without appearing to age a day. In Agrabah's case, as of the student's first visit,
that makes sense. This is all making sense now.
Is back within the realm of light,
as much sense as Kingdom Hearts can make.
State, the living beings of this world are one of the last elements to be recovered, and Heartless roam the streets in their place. After taking down a particularly strong Heartless, the group returns to Scarlet
can we just see more Aqua for 3 hours?
With the other 3 lower classmen.
That'd be great. We should just watch more Aqua.
The entire cohort shows concern for the upperclassmen's safety, given that powerful Heartless like the ones they encountered exist in these worlds. But they are determined to press on with their task, and elect not to report back to Master Odin yet, choosing to continue onwards to a new world.
Why would you not report back?
The 3 lower classmen that aren't in Xehanort's party defeat some of Wonderland's
And Missing Link was supposed to give us the emblem story. Yeah, and Missing Link's dead.
To be arrested, then placed on trial,
for sure,
and unfortunately sentenced to death.
Yeah, can we just get Aqua and Xion the game?
But Xehanort reminds him
if they made Aqua and Xion the game, I would just play that.
But at a sign of escalation, they elect to charge in and defend their friends with words instead.
Just give me the good female Kingdom Hearts characters, please.
Her perspective and the nature of this world's order.
Let them go save Kyrie or something. I don't know, but like
she rules with an iron fist and keeps her subjects perpetually in fear.
I feel like that's infinitely better
under her control. The wielders didn't intend any harm, but even an act as simple as attacking the Heartless without the Queen's express permission was interpreted as an affront to her,
Aqua Xion
a challenge to her rule, and a crime
I don't know. Maybe we leave Kyrie out of that.
Erica tries to reason with the Queen, but gets nowhere, only enraging her further for suggesting that her subjects' obedience comes not from love, as she sees it, but instead from fear. And
Kyrie's just boring.
Xehanort briefly glimpses the darkness within her heart.
Aqua have way more personality.
As a giant Reaper Heartless. All 6 wielders see this Heartless as fair game and draw their Keyblades to defeat this foe, which Xehanort and his party are able to do. The lower classmen regroup afterwards and are a little rattled.
Kyrie does get a personality arc. If Kyrie got some decent personality, I would enjoy her immensely more. But Kyrie, I don't know, man.
Their perspective of what is right and what is wrong doesn't necessarily.
Some rumors are just rumors, and some gossip's just gossip.
They had to personally confront the darkness in a person's heart for the first time. And if it could happen here, then perhaps a person with darkness in their heart
be more mean.
Could be responsible for the upperclassmen's disappearance as well.
I don't know.
At this moment,
I don't think Kyrie being mean is going to be
experience a similar flashback to a moment that occurred.
I don't know if that's going to make her a better character if she's just mean.
The Union leader Brain, as he expressed that darkness can hide anywhere, even inside someone.
Yeah.
Xehanort probably experienced this flashback third hand through their guardian, the player of Union Cross, who had such a strong connection to the Union leaders. But as for Ericus, well, who knows?
No, not yet. He hasn't gotten to that.
This was such a pivotal moment for Brain. The words spoken at that time might feasibly have become a mantra.
Oh, thanks for that. I like the little choker too.
Descendants. But again, I'm not here to speculate about things.
Yeah, Ventus is super old. Why does everyone forget that?
Xehanort can't stop thinking about the darkness.
Ventus is like the oldest character in the current timeline.
She doesn't even seem to realize that it's there. She seems fully immersed in the delusion that her rule comes from love and not fear. She's clearly overcome by darkness, and if the wielders were to continue on this journey, they might meet more people like her. At some point, they may have no choice but to engage in combat with people with darkness in their hearts. But could they bring themselves to do it? To attack someone who didn't even realize what they had become? The group agrees that one party of 3 should move on and start searching a new world, while Xehanort's party will stay and continue searching for
older than the X era? Oh shit, yeah, I guess that's true.
Episode 3 begins with Xehanort and Ericus' party meeting some strange members of Wonderland as they continue their investigation. The Tweedles tell the group the story of the Walrus and the Carpenter.
Yeah, Ventus is older than Xehanort.
The moral of the story is that curiosity can lead to danger. A lesson
I think
that
he is. I honestly think he is before the foretellers. Like, it just doesn't make sense.
In an interesting piece of foreshadowing, in Disney's cinematic adaptation of Alice in Wonderland,
like how old is Ventus? How linked to this entire timeline is Ventus?
Walrus and Eaton. Their encounter with the Mad Hatter and March Hare proves that people are able to live their lives in this world controlled by fear, and darkness won't necessarily manifest in the citizens as a result. Xehanort eventually determines that the upperclassmen probably haven't come to this world. The Queen's earlier reaction implied that no outsiders have been seen here in a long time.
Okay, so at least they got that
observing
information
and understanding
okay.
the Queen's darkness could be helpful in tracking down the missing students, so the trio elected to return to her court.
So
they
for a
arrived
guy
to see
named
one
Win.
of her cart soldiers being dragged away to a presumably grim fate, and Ericus began interrogating the Queen. He refused to believe that a heart could be based in anything but light. I'm gonna be real with you.
Ventus's name being Win does not attribute to any of his personality, it seems.
Realized her darkness came from wrath, one of the negative emotions that Odin had warned.
He was asleep for so many games.
Xehanort glimpsed the Queen's darkness once more, but this time it seemed to smile.
How back before the first war was? Yeah, so he's at least 218 years old.
That had been conjured before. A being fittingly named the Furious Reaper. It is worth noting that this Heartless, though at first glance is visually similar to the Fairy Reaper,
it's different. Yeah,
earlier,
it's different to the Reaper.
Now bears even more similarities to the Queen of Hearts herself. The exact same red and black color scheme with white and yellow highlights should be immediately apparent. The being now sports a crown as the Queen does, the shaft of the Heartless's scythe now resembles the staff that the Queen carries, and the blade itself is now detailed with red and black triangles, reminiscent of the hearts and spades that can be found on the card soldiers that appear throughout the
with this Keyblade, Wayward Wind. I see.
Attacked whatever that makes sense. Indiscriminately, including the Queen's own soldiers.
Looks way too cool to just be in the mobile game. You're not wrong, actually.
Like she intentionally summoned it, much less was able to control it. Whereas the Furious
You're not wrong. That should be like a mainline boss.
Keyblade wielders lose their heads. Her card soldiers weren't in formation and ready to execute upon that command. But this Heartless instantly appeared.
Yeah, seriously, aimlessly going wherever he's being directed is so true.
The darkness within the Queen's heart.
Here, get in this tube, Vin. It'll take you somewhere. We don't know where. It'll take you somewhere.
Even if she has absolutely
I think I'm in the future.
Another being lurks within her heart. It was a tough battle, but the group vanquished the dark.
But he does remember Chirithy, so he does have his memories back at least.
Back to Scala to exchange what information they had gathered with the others. Continuing to follow sources of darkness seemed to be a logical next step.
The lower classmen's fits are weak, dude.
The Furious Reaper was defeated, but there would surely be other dark entities out there. As we discussed earlier,
let's say we got a while to go before we're done with this explanation anyway. I think we have a few more hours.
They may be unintentionally.
Yeah, we have like 2 hours and some change.
And exactly the same thing may.
You got a lot of this memorized. Good.
No question whether the wielders literally were the reason the darkness was being born, but Erd wasn't so quick to believe in Xehanort's theory just yet. Light exists.
Man, their outfits are so boring.
The wielders were granted
Show me. Can we go back to upperclassmen outfits? Because you guys kind of lame right now.
But it's a bit too much of a leap for her to believe that light could literally lead to darkness. So how would they even?
Well, light definitely can lead to darkness. Eric has taught us that.
The Queen may have unknowingly had shadows cast on her heart by an outside source, or she may have welcomed it willingly. But Xehanort starts to wonder if any of that even matters. He's just witnessed a world in which darkness, for as bad as it has always been portrayed to be, kept order in a world. Wonderland's people lived in darkness-based fear, yes, but it was by living under that rule that ensured stability for Wonderland. It's as if the concept of light and darkness.
I see. This is starting Xehanort's
It's only a matter of perspective. But Ericus is having none of this. He refuses to entertain any notion that darkness is anything but bad. Always has been, always will be. And he hopes that Xehanort isn't forgetting his role as a guardian of light. And Xehanort isn't forgetting, but he wants to consider the possibility that if the upperclassmen entered a world that was ruled by darkness and tried to impose their light-based beliefs upon it, then they would be the ones disrupting that world's order, and it could have led to their demise.
He's not wrong, though. He's not wrong.
Consider this outcome, but Ermod rallies the group. They'll continue searching for the upperclassmen in a new world.
Like, he is not wrong about that.
If that goal coincides with delving further into the mysteries of darkness, then that's what they'll do. With the plan locked in, Xehanort, Ericus, and Ver departed for the Dwarf Woodlands. While here, Ver had gotten absentmindedly separated from Xehanort and Ericus, which led her to stumble upon the Evil Queen's castle and the magic mirror that could be found within. And after witnessing the mirror's incredible ability to truthfully answer any question, the magical objects seemed to be just what was needed to locate the upperclassmen. The trio was able to rescue one group of 7 people that needed help. It just wasn't the particular group that they were looking for.
They just lift that fucking boulder like it was made of paper?
Ericus wastes no time in asking the truly important questions. But before they can ask something actually useful, the Evil Queen interrupts. The envious Queen forces the mirror to attack the outsiders, and they are drawn into the mirror's realm. Ericus notes that it reeks of darkness.
They did,
upholding a much discussed piece of continuity
like,
from Chain of
dude,
Memories.
they just tossed it like it was
the trio
nothing.
are able to defeat it, freeing themselves from their trap. Now that they have the mirror to themselves, the wielders begin to first ask where Vidar is, but they needn't have bothered, because at that precise moment, Vidar himself appeared through a portal behind them. When we last left Vidar, I rationalized that himself, Vala, and Vali must have been on the path of vengeance, to identify and strike back at whatever dark force took Hoda, Heimdall, Sigrun, and Helgi from them. The first step of this plan.
Yeah, Kingdom Hearts really likes mirrors. They really like the mirror symbolism a lot.
That were lost with new ones willing to step up and take their place. Vidar tells the lower classmen none of this, of course, and ignores Ericus' questions about why he's yet to return home. His focus is drawn to Xehanort. Seeing Xehanort in person, there is clearly something different about him, and he can now understand why Xehanort has caught the attention of Master Odin, implying the pair have spoken about Xehanort before. But
yeah, that hasn't been brought up yet.
Honing in on her current lingering doubts. Earlier, when Ver had first discovered the magic mirror, she had asked it if she would ever become a Keyblade master, to which the mirror bluntly replied,
"Oh yeah, he's got drip, for sure.
Comfortable familiarity and shelter.
Like he's one of the upperclassmen. All the upperclassmen apparently have drip.
She's faced with a difficult choice.
The lower classmen don't get nothing, man.
Blanketed safety net of her friends. Then when the group eventually grows up and goes their separate ways, perhaps she won't have the ability to make it on her own. But Vidar is offering Ver a chance to break out of her comfortable bubble and to follow him down an unknown path towards achieving his goals. Ericus tries to convince Ver to stay, but Xehanort seems to agree with the sentiment and to embrace the inevitability of change. Ver thanks the two for their perspective, but her heart and her mind
I guess
are made
that's
up.
true.
And with a determined look on her face, she and Vidar enter the portal, leaving Xehanort and a bewildered Ericus behind. They resolve to return to Scala immediately and let everyone know what just happened.
I mean, he's not wrong. At this point
that Vidar explained the upperclassmen's great tragedy and necessity for revenge to Ver, and she in turn would have likely filled them in on the task that Odin laid out for her and her cohorts. That Xehanort, Ericus, Omod, Erd, Bragi, and herself were supposed to find the missing upperclassmen, and that Odin had given Baldur a different task to complete in the meantime. But I surmised that this piece of information was enough for Vidar to finally solve the mystery he had been struggling with. Odin was not preventing Baldur from attending this excursion because of some concern for his well-being. Baldur was the very culprit that they were searching for. Somehow,
so he figured it out.
An awful taboo and killed his sister and her friends. But how?
I mean, with that drip, he's gotta be smart.
Some being of darkness? Were the Heartless responsible? Or did the darkness manifest from within his own heart? Too much was still unknown. But regardless of the reasoning, the plan to seek revenge was brought to a screeching halt. How could they hunt down and slay Hoda's younger brother, even considering what he had done? In what sick world would that be honoring Hoda's memory? The emotional turmoil that Vidar had experienced in the last few days was becoming too much to handle.
That's a lot, actually. I actually don't have an answer for that. I actually don't have an answer for that.
Go from here? How could he continue as a Keyblade wielder after suffering such tragic losses to the darkness? Vidar also returned to Scala Akayan, where he would announce to Master Odin that he was leaving. But he barely started his declaration when Odin cut him off, with a warning that a darkness like no other may soon be upon the worlds. Despite never teaching the students of this fairly important topic before, Odin decides that right now is the perfect
time to tell him
to the concept of the 13 ancient darknesses, the most primitive
Vidar
of shadows,
Vidar.
and the source of practically all forms of darkness in this world.
Maybe he's British.
As a quick refresher, the 13 ancient darknesses were revealed to be the ending of Union Cross to be the ultimate enemies of the Master of Masters and people of light at large.
That would make sense, I suppose.
They were beings that initially had physical forms in the most ancient parts
the pronunciation,
of the series,
I mean, that
like
could be it.
Humans and other beings of light, but abandoned those forms to become unkillable
Birdly.
and gain an enormous advantage in the conflict between darkness and light.
We can't play this,
they were
actually.
Able to possess endless human beings.
That kind of sucks, actually. That's why I'm watching the cutscenes. And we can't play Missing Link either because that game got canceled. So we're really just like struggling until Kingdom Hearts 4, surprisingly. Kind of sucks.
The entire point of the Keyblade War scene in Kingdom Hearts Union Cross was that it was an essential component of the Master of
Can't play Union Cross either.
to put a stop to these darknesses. Prior to the war, the master had trained and tormented his unknowing disciples in such a way.
Although I heard Union Cross is a real grindy game anyway, that got into some paywall stuff. Yeah, Missing Link 07.
Saw his pupils as nothing but
bye-bye Missing Link. You were missed.
To house the darknesses analogous to the 7 deadly sins.
All right, get my controller back.
Master Odin refers to these beings as true darknesses. And though he doesn't seem to know everything about this ancient foe, he is somehow aware of the Master's incredibly secret plan to deal with them. He knows that the Master of Masters himself, plus the foretellers on Mushu,
it's so funny you mentioned that, because I started Kingdom Hearts last year too, and I just beat Kingdom Hearts 3.
Odin also accurately knows that another 4
Union Cross is really grindy.
Yeah,
okay, that's what I heard.
Realm between of another world. Something
that is so funny you mentioned that, because yeah, this entire time I've been streaming Kingdom Hearts has been like over last year up until now.
Apparently the theory is
we're almost caught up fully.
Destroyed when the data Daybreak Town collapsed.
Hey, thanks for liking the live.
The truth is that one of them hitched a ride in Ven's heart as Ven traveled through time into
like most of the clips on my channels right now are just me playing Kingdom Hearts because it's just been that much.
Last time we saw it, it was conversing with Lushu in the real world. But this implies that somehow, despite both versions of Daybreak Town falling apart,
that is crazy.
This extremely sensitive
like we just did the Yozora fight last stream and we had to cheat because it's insane.
Prophecies, maybe Ephraim or Alushu were able to spread the knowledge down. Who knows? This is another question for Missing Link to answer.
That's right. It's always good to like, follow, and share for your friends.
That Odin is implying that one or more of the unaccounted true
your resident clanker says so
to this world, despite being unseen for hundreds, if not thousands of years. Vidar is, of course, at this very moment, wondering what could have caused Baldur to attack his sister. And without Vidar even having to ask, well, along comes Master Odin with an extremely plausible and tempting answer.
I've already done Union Cross Explained, actually. We've already caught up in Union Cross.
That would mean that the atrocities weren't Baldur's fault. Vidar asks how one would defeat one of these true darknesses. And again, Odin correctly knows
we did that right before Kingdom Hearts 3
is because this made the darknesses vulnerable again.
Yeah, we did it right before Kingdom Hearts 3.
Darkness was trapped within someone's heart, and then that person was killed.
Although it's been long enough, I should probably change outfits again.
But Vidar cannot bring himself to make that awful choice.
Well, it is random, so here we are again.
If true darkness has infiltrated Baldur's heart, there must be some way to rid him of the darkness without murdering him too. And luckily again...
Yeah, because Ephraim appears in Kingdom Hearts 3, and Chirithy is in Kingdom Hearts 3 as well.
The Great Kingdom Hearts is said to have the power to
and then if we didn't watch Union Cross, we wouldn't know that the Chirithys turn into the Dream Eaters.
Darkness would be eradicated in the
process. I guess we really had to watch it to get the full context.
Odin reminds Vidar that to summon Kingdom Hearts is strictly forbidden, but then immediately afterwards lists the exact steps he believes will summon it. He tells Vidar that the known method is to gather 7 true lights that shine against the darkness of chaos. After which,
why would you tell him that?
Itself. Odin cautions that successfully summoning Kingdom Hearts and purging everything would have a profound effect on every world. And then,
why are you telling him that?
Vidar even having to mention Baldur, Odin asks whether preserving one life is worth the cost. Odin cautions Vidar one more time that summoning Kingdom Hearts is forbidden, but he may as well have saved his breath. Vidar now knows what he and the upperclassmen must do. They must gather 7 true lights.
No!
While I understand that Master Odin has recently discovered Baldur unconscious and can probably sense that something about the situation is wrong, the timing of his latest
Odin is super sus.
Extremely suspicious. Of course, at this point in the narrative, the audience has no idea what Vidar has been up to, and one part of the reason for this cutscene's inclusion is to plant the idea in the viewer's mind that one of the 13 darknesses from Union Cross could have returned. But regardless, Vidar would have never even known about the existence of the true darknesses, and certainly have never even considered summoning Kingdom Hearts as a solution to the supposed problem, if Master Odin had not literally planted these ideas in his head at Vidar's most vulnerable moment. And sure, he cautions Vidar that summoning Kingdom Hearts is forbidden.
He might be Lushu. He's so evil.
Why are you just like after literally handing him the keys and telling him how much fun he would have behind the wheel?
He's just so
if Master Odin is actually
nonchalantly evil
sincerity and zero ulterior motives here, I will be completely flawed. Because at best, this is gross incompetence that could potentially have apocalyptic consequences.
Yeah, here's Odin.
And again, I will be looking for explanations in Kingdom Hearts Missing Link. At the same time,
Missing Link's not happening, so we're not getting explanations we want.
Xehanort and Ericus had returned to Bragi, Erd, and Ermod to let them know what happened.
Odin is like so old.
But he was conveniently busy with Vidar at this moment, so the young people had to come to a decision about what to do next.
He might just be a Lushu vessel.
Ericus is racked with guilt that he didn't try harder.
That would make sense if he was a Lushu vessel.
And wants to head back and ask the mirror where she is right away. Xehanort, however, trusts that Vidar and Ver will turn up again when they complete whatever goal Vidar wants to achieve, and thinks that if the lower classmen continue working towards their own goals, then they'll very likely cross paths once more. Ericus really lays on the manipulation here.
I mean, honestly,
Xehanort of not caring about his friends and puffing himself up as wanting to go
because you saw Ericus was all about, you know, darkness is always bad.
That a Keyblade
but
master is
the moment like Xehanort brought up, like, wait, if they went to a world that was ruled by darkness, their light would be the outlier and disrupt the order. So light can't be always good.
Mirror, whereas Xehanort, and Omod press on to a new world. Beasts.
Xehanort was spitting facts there, actually.
Upon arrival, Xehanort's party immediately defends one of this world's residents.
Yeah, he was willing to kill Vin for it. Yeah, that's when you know you've gone too far.
Item has gone missing.
Your light is not all right if you're trying to kill Vin.
This world's order.
Yeah, and Odin was his teacher. Yeah.
The beast himself, they get a clue that the upperclassmen might actually be responsible for the theft, and before too long, their suspicions are confirmed. Gets separated from Omod and Xehanort when dealing with a powerful breed of Heartless, and finds herself in a particularly bad spot, but holds her composure and remains strong against overwhelming odds. Suddenly, Vala of the upperclassmen appears and dispels the Heartless effortlessly. Vala has been observing from afar and is impressed by Erd's conviction and believes her to be
the upperclassmen really do have hands. Oh my god!
Within the darkness of chaos. Vala seems to think that Erd is a suitable candidate for helping the upperclassmen achieve their goal, and Erd has a lot of questions about just what that goal might be. But Vala seems a little taken aback, expecting a lot more obedience out of her younger colleague, and seems quite disappointed when Erd reiterates her plan to keep adhering to her mission, not abandoning it to follow at the whims of the mysterious Vala. Vala bids Erd adieu and asks if Erd could kindly return the beast's rose to him before she goes, which the confused lower classmen begrudgingly do, before departing again for the next world. Next, the trio arrives back in Agrabah, finding it to be significantly more restored
Why are we always in Agrabah?
When they had initially visited. For one, people have returned as if they had never been taken in the first place, and everyone's favourite royal vizier, Jafar, conjures up a sob story and begs Erd, Xehanort, and Omod for their help to seek out a magic lamp. Omod seems genuinely moved by his plight, but Erd and especially Xehanort are less convinced, the latter sensing darkness in the form of greed within Jafar, but agree to go along with the sham because it'll give them access to an important part of the world that they haven't been able to search.
Not wrong.
The three wielders are recognized as true diamonds in the rough, as all our Kingdom Hearts protagonists seem to be, and descend into the Cave of Wonders. They eventually catch up to Ericus and Bragi, who had also ventured onto Agrabah after not having any success with the magic mirror.
Yeah, I feel like everyone in Kingdom Hearts has been able to go to the fucking Cave of Riches.
When they discuss Jafar's deception, Bragi wants to call the entire search off.
That place can't be that special, everybody can get in.
And explains that this lamp might be similar to the Rose of Beast Castle, an object of great importance that is essential to this world's order. The united party reach the depths of the cavern and finally discover the lamp, just as Vidar simultaneously arrives via portal. Erd's suspicions seem to have been proven correct. Vidar and the upperclassmen are indeed looking for powerful artifacts that help maintain each world's order, and Ericus can't believe that Ver is content with helping him risk the balance of the worlds to achieve this goal. Vidar explains that yes, they are disrupting the balance of the worlds by taking these items, but they hope that in response they will find true lights that shine even in the face of confusion and uncertainty. And there actually seems to be a certain amount of logic to that plan. This is getting into theory and future video territory, so I'll keep it brief. But maintaining balance and order in each world has always been stressed as being of paramount importance, even as far back as Kingdom Hearts 1. Residents from one world should be prevented at all costs from learning about the existence of other worlds outside of their own, no matter what external forces attempt to act upon them. And I can extrapolate from what is being said in Dark Road, that an unintentional consequence of the Keyblade wielders maintaining each world's order is ensuring that the story of these worlds play out exactly as they did in the original Disney films that inspired them. Consider
except for Maleficent, of course, because
that many non-original Kingdom Hearts worlds are based upon, a villain never has the powers of darkness, or heartless, nobodies, or unversed to aid them. But in the Kingdom Hearts iterations of these stories, the villains often find themselves granted the incredible, otherworldly abilities to summon and wield dark forces that they never had in the original. Should these powers be used unchecked, Surely the villain would upset the intended events of the story and end up seizing victory over the protagonists that were supposed to prevail. But from what we have seen, every time, without fail, along came heroic Keyblade wielders just in time
To
that act
stop
as a
it.
force for maintaining order, almost as if they are summoned in response to the additional threat of these intrusive foreign forces. The darkness can be as enormous or powerful as it likes, but it seems that when a Keyblade wielder is fighting to maintain the order of a world, they will always be granted enough power to succeed and ensure that events end up playing out as they are supposed to. It doesn't matter if a world is said to be real, or a memory recreation, or a data recreation from a journal, or a version based on dreams, or an illusionary version of it conjured up by yet another journal, or yet another data version based on the second journal version. The Kingdom Hearts version of a story must always remain faithful to the original film. A hero or
unfortunately,
heroes
and that's
will
why
always
Maleficent got
rise
stuck in that
to
data
save
zone
the
and had
day.
to like escape.
A world's order must
Yeah, that was a
not be
whole list of
allowed
bullshit
to slip
actually.
away into the chaos
Man, Gingham
of the
Cross
unknown.
fucking sucked for that one.
So both the magic lamp and the rose from Beast Castle are two items of extreme narrative importance and consequence to their original films. I don't think it is too much of a stretch to say that each entire story hangs around them respectfully, and removing them from their proper place in the narrative would have disastrous consequences on the original plot. This is exactly what the upperclassmen are hoping to threaten with their actions, with the desired outcome being that a great power will appear to them that balances what has been imbalanced and restores the intended order. They, Keyblade wielders and Guardians of Light, have
So
chosen
they
to
keep
act in a
stealing
role
the shit.
typically
I get it.
occupied by the forces
They're trying
of
to find the
darkness
true light. I
in
get
order
it.
to force great lights to rise up.
But like,
Almost as if by
why
harmonic
are they
resonance.
trying to summon Kingdom Hearts in the
must
first
find their
place?
7
Just
true
because
lights
Odin
that
just
shine brightly
gave
in
him
the
the
face of
information,
chaos,
he's gonna trust
no
it
matter
and
the
go for
cost.
it?
The lower classmen are horrified.
Yeah, Odin just
that
might be
upperclassmen
Lushu.
could
That's
even
crazy.
Consider disrupting the order in such a way. And Vidar scoffs.
They're just falling for
as he
this too
recalls
easy,
Master
like
Odin's
leaking the
lessons
right amount
that
of
stress the
information they would
importance of
need.
that very
And
subject.
since no name
It
is
was,
here,
after
it is
all,
very
Vidar's
possible that,
adherence to
yeah,
those
it is just
rules that
Lushu
helped
using the
cost
Book
his
of
friends their
Prophecies.
lives. But Vidar is steadfast in his belief that true
Pause and do the
darkness
drip
must
test.
be defeated.
all right. Drip tier list. Okay, from this page alone, Valder over here, top tier on Valder. He's S tier. Xehanort, we'll give him A tier, just because it is young Xehanort. He do be dripping, along with Ericus. I'll even put her in A tier because her fit's got a lot going on, but she's making it work. The other three, honestly, I'm gonna put them in D tier. It's just boring. There's nothing here. Like the other three just have nothing going on, man.
Insisting that he and Ericus both want the same thing. And as if to test Ericus, or maybe to put the burden of such an act upon Ericus himself, Vidar
And
asks
yeah, if
that
you look at
Ericus
everyone's coats,
also
they
take
all
up
have
the
trim
goal
on
of
them,
finding
which
these
is
brilliant
weird in a
lights,
different sense, but
and
hey,
states that he should be the one
they
to take
definitely
the
have
lamp
trim on their
before
jackets.
promptly departing with Ver. Ericus gathers his courage and reaches for the lamp, but quickly realizes that the cost is just too great, and the poor boy might be in over his head. Xehanort comforts his friend and affirms that they are far too
least he
young and
realizes that.
inexperienced to know how to act in this situation. And in an interesting piece of foreshadowing, insinuates that when Ericus is an older Keyblade master,
stretching is very
he
important.
might know what decision must be made when faced with a similar terrible choice, with world-altering consequences. The group decide to return to Master Odin to confer, not caring at all about returning to Jafar and his false sympathy act. Looks like he'll need to find another diamond in the rough to aid him in his schemes. The lower classmen relay what they have learned about Vidar and his goals to their master. That Vidar believes true darkness, whatever that is, has taken the lives of some of Vidar's friends, and that Vidar wishes to assemble
Ericus is just a
7 true
fundamentalist.
lights
Yeah, you're
to
not
combat
wrong.
this great threat.
It's what he's been taught.
The master informs the younger students too about the nature of the 13 formless beings known as the true darknesses. And
Yeah,
when the
why has he
students
not been
ask,
telling them
just as
about
Vidar
this?
had, how one would possibly defeat something like that, Master Odin again wastes no time in also revealing his theory that the great power of Kingdom Hearts should be capable of purging everything.
Oh my
He at
god.
least states that as
Stop,
of right
dude.
now, it cannot be certain whether or not the threat that Vidar faces is true darkness, and even if it is summoning Kingdom Hearts the correct decision? Will they risk the lives of people and worlds everywhere to possibly save Vidar and Ver from the target that has already taken several of
Title
their
drop.
friends' lives? Odin affirms that the students were correct. They are not equipped to deal with this vitally important matter, and that they have
No,
all
there
been
aren't.
dismissed from their task of solving the disappearance of the missing wielders. He discharges his students, who all get up and leave the room, heads bowed in thought, disappointment, and shame. But
They are
as
not.
Xehanort leaves,
They are literally
he is
children.
focused on only one thing. As soon as Master Odin mentioned the power of Kingdom Hearts, a thought entered Xehanort's mind for the first time. The power of Kingdom Hearts could purge everything, even the worlds themselves, leaving a blank canvas upon which to start again.
Oh,
Once his students
God.
have all left, Odin whispers to himself, "The Dark Seeker will finally be upon us."
Oh, he's
I
fucking
had my
doing this on
suspicions up to this
purpose.
point, but upon hearing these lines, I was fully convinced. The false mark of mastery exam, the insistence on maintaining order to the detriment of all else, the spoon-feeding of information about the true darknesses, and the method of summoning Kingdom Hearts to absolutely
Yeah,
anyone who
Odin's so
asks,
sus.
I fail to see how Master Odin is not acting with ulterior motives throughout Kingdom Hearts Dark Road. At this stage, we can only speculate his overall goals, except of course to affirm that one component of the plan seems to have literally been to bring the Dark Seeker into the world, or at the very least, be there to observe the Dark Seeker's arrival. For those needing a refresher, and to fast forward several decades,
This is probably no name
one
related.
incarnation of Xehanort's future self is Ansem, the self-proclaimed Seeker of Darkness.
Yep.
One component of a man that will eventually become ruthlessly obsessed with bringing about another Keyblade war as a means of summoning Kingdom Hearts. Master Odin seems confident that he has just witnessed the advent of such a man upon this world, which implies to me that the existence of someone known as the Dark Seeker was seemingly predicted to occur. Again,
In the Book of
all
Prophecy.
eyes should be on Missing Link for any signs of what Master Odin and any collaborators he might have are up to. I'm not even necessarily saying that his actions are inherently evil, but the man is absolutely up to something more than just being a teacher.
So fucking sus, dude.
The disappointed students made their way back down to the benches by Scala's water's
Whee!
edge, wondering what to do next. Odin had forbid them from pursuing this matter any further, and even if they wanted to,
Oh, man.
he had already closed all the gates.
Man,
They
the day I
weren't
can
able
give
to
you guys
explore
channel
any
point access to
previously
change
visited
things
worlds.
is the day I'm just never
Ericus
going to
and
be able to
Amon
do
were
anything in
particularly
life.
frustrated in their inability to do anything, but they all wished to continue with their
Like,
task.
once we hit
despite
affiliate,
Odin
I can give you
dismissing
guys, sorry, affiliates,
them.
and I can give
Wondered
you
if they
guys
could learn
channel
more about the
points
true darknesses.
and make
Maybe
channel
that could help.
commands. I know
Bragi
it's not going
responded
to be a
without
good
much
time.
The only other people they could ask about true darkness are Vidar or the ones that have already died, and there's not much chance of that happening. Baldur seemed to agree. At that moment, the absent boy appeared, and his excited friends rushed to
Interesting
greet
that he
him.
just shows up now.
Xehanort asks what Baldur has been up to, and Baldur
Yeah.
repeats the line that Master Odin used at the beginning of the student's quest, that he had been busy with his task to learn more about darkness and its different types. In reality,
Kind
he had been
of.
doing something far different.
Light is kind
You'll
of
hopefully
really
recall
ambiguous
that
to me.
The last time I mentioned Baldur, my thought was that immediately after his body was temporarily overcome by his own darkness, and
The
used to
older
kill his
always
sister
sus.
and
You're not
3
wrong.
other upperclassmen, his darkness took
Yeah, the
him
light
through
is
a
very
corridor back to
ambiguous.
Scala, where it relinquished control and Baldur fell unconscious.
Right.
Upon being discovered, Master Odin
was discovered
placed
by
the fragile
Odin.
boy in the infirmary alone. Instead of being surrounded by
Yeah.
his friends in a time of weakness, Baldur was kept alone in a dark, windowless room with nothing but time
Yeah.
and his own thoughts to keep him
Yeah,
company.
Odin did that shit on
Baldur's
purpose.
sister Hoda was his source of light, a bright beacon to repel his own darkness. But in that moment of weakness, the darkness had
Odin
taken
did that on
control
purpose,
and
for
snuffed
sure.
that light out, leaving only the dark void with nothing to repel it. Over 7 agonizing days, while the lower classmen were taking their
Oh my
first steps in the
god.
world
He was in there for
outside,
7
Baldur was
days?
kept in this awful room, left to dwell on the things that had happened in the Enchanted Dominion as his shadow grew and grew
Yeah,
in
a
strength.
whole week?
sister
Jesus
was gone.
Christ.
Her friends had failed to protect her, and now they were gone too. By the 4th day, he realized that everyone had perished, and by the 5th and 6th day, Baldur realized that he was responsible. By the 7th, Baldur, now completely flanked by his own dark shadow, came to the awful conclusion that without his sister in the world may as well fall to darkness.
Oh my
And the shadow
god.
welcomed the Forsaken boy with open arms, whispering into Baldur's heart that if Baldur no longer had hope for this world, he should purge it, plunge the 13 lights into shadow.
Oh my
Baldur
god.
stood, now perfectly in sync with his heart's own darkness, as it became irrevocably entwined with his heart
Odin
and
did this
body.
on purpose. This was
From this
all on
moment
purpose.
Whenever I mention Balder, I am most likely referring to the pair that are now in complete control of Balder's body. Balder and his darkness working in tandem. The darkness would act through Balder to carry out its plan, and together, they would make the lights disappear. Once free of the infirmary, it was able to move unrestrained throughout the worlds, and had recently been keeping watch over the actions of the upper and lower classmen. As mentioned earlier, Balder's darkness, as a component of Balder's own heart, wants above all else to usurp the current status quo of these light-based worlds that condemn it for merely existing, and forge a world where it can not just exist, but thrive. And whether Vidar was maliciously guided down this path by Master Odin or not, his mission to endanger the worlds and secure 7 brilliant lights probably would have succeeded in summoning Kingdom Hearts. However, this would have had disastrous consequences.
Yeah, it would have destroyed
and
everything.
Invoking the power of Kingdom Hearts would not have merely purged the darkness within Balder's heart, as Odin had softly insinuated.
Yeah,
Its
it does way more than
might
that.
would have annihilated everything, shattering what little remained of the scattered worlds and leaving nothing but rubble from which those worlds could begin anew. Exactly the outcome that Balder's darkness desired, and its actions from the shadows had all been in service of achieving that goal. And when Vidar showed signs that his resolve to assemble those 7 lights and summon Kingdom Hearts was wavering, the darkness decided that the time had come for a more
they would have not summoned Keyblades.
touch. Vidar
Why did Odin do all this? I don't know, man. I gotta figure that out too. I don't know if we'll get an answer.
Was not. Of course, the lower classmen.
I don't know if we'll actually get an answer or not. I'm gonna be real with you.
They had no reason to doubt the lie that Master Odin.
This is Kingdom Hearts lore. There might not be an answer yet.
Of course, didn't know either. He was still running under the assumption that Master Odin had carefully led him towards. That the most likely theory was that one of the ancient 13 darknesses had possessed Balder, and that summoning Kingdom Hearts to purge the worlds was the only probable way to destroy it without killing Balder in the process. Balder played the lower classmen along with an innocent and ignorant
His plan is never clarified. Okay, good. Well, I'm
tricking them into sharing the assignment that they were supposed to have kept secret from him, before letting slip that Bragi's question might actually have a way of being answered.
I don't know if he thinks he's God. I think he's following along the Book of Prophecies, which is a very different thing.
That had led to the death of his sister. That he had arrived just in time to see Hoda getting attacked by a great dragon. That Hoda had given her life defending him, and that after that he passed out, and when he awoke next, he was in the infirmary.
He was in the infirmary.
Erd asks if he is okay, and he almost cheerfully replies that he's fine. He just wants to know what led to all of this.
What?
Without a chance for anyone to ask any more questions,
no
Balder
way.
immediately summons his Keyblade and opens a corridor to the underworld. If anyone asked, Balder could just respond that this was one of the worlds that Master Odin had given him permission to explore, and that he still had access to. But in reality, I don't even know if Master Odin knew that Balder had left the infirmary yet. Without hesitation,
I don't think he knows.
Ericus and Xehanort agree to enter the portal. Erd follows, and Dermot is the only one that expresses any caution. He has to be led in by the shoulders.
Yeah, that's a terrible villain thing. Yeah, exactly. That's a very evil thing, yeah.
Upon arriving in this new world, and expressing out loud a desire to reach the underworld, Hades, Lord of the Dead, immediately appears and confronts the outsiders.
Is he gonna do his little dance?
Offering
Hades
them
is
a
not
one-way
doing his
ticket
little
into
dance,
the place that most people are usually dying to get out of. After some typical game shenanigans and Hades' trickery, all 6 lower classmen are warped into the underworld. Xehanort, Ericus, and Bragi appear in Hades' own chambers, with no sign of Balder, Omad, or Erd. The trio interrogates Hades about their missing friends, but he's not being super helpful.
Yeah,
he's
where did they
curious
go?
As to why they're trying so hard to get into this place. Xehanort confesses that they want to speak to some people who have died, and Hades agrees to assist them on one condition. If he's successful, one of the 3 must stay behind.
It's weird how Hades' underworld is linked to all the worlds. In all continuities.
Are repulsed by the suggestion,
that is so wild to me.
Xehanort still asks Hades if he can locate Hoda for them, and after some time, Hades returns and confirms that he has located her and her friends. He sends the trio on their way, and greedily wonders to himself just how many pawns are about to join his collection. On the way to their destination, Cerberus attacks the trio. They keep the beast busy, but aren't able to take him down, and seem to be getting backed into a corner, when suddenly, some blasts of energy fire in from the east.
From Balder.
Balder leaps in to lend a hand, and generously tells Xehanort and Ericus that they should continue onwards to the deceased upperclassmen, leaving Cerberus for Bragi and himself to handle. Ericus isn't so sure, But Bragi is
Is
more
why,
than confident in
is
his
why
own
Olympus can never be
abilities,
tossed.
and the
Yeah.
former reluctantly agrees.
Unfortunately, yeah, Olympus is here to stay.
Bragi to be careful, but tells Boulder that he'll see him later. He can count on it. And initially, you could read this as a positive thing, that Xehanort knows Boulder will be fine, and that the pair will definitely reunite soon, both safe and sound. But
yeah,
on
that
the
is
surface,
that is wild. That yeah, we
meant
can't
it as a subtle
we
warning.
can't like ever escape
Boulder's timely
Olympus
arrival
because of
and offer
this.
to help by splitting the group are enough for Xehanort to begin
Unfortunately.
piecing together the puzzle. But with no proof, and under the dangerous circumstances, Xehanort can hardly raise those concerns now. But even though his suspicions are raised, perhaps Xehanort does not want to confront the reality of what it would mean if those suspicions were correct. What he might be forced to do, should Boulder not be truly as he presents himself to be, and Xehanort can only offer a veiled warning to the two that he is forced to leave behind. The pair soon find and Omod, who have only just regained consciousness after being transported by Hades, quickly explaining to them that they left Boulder and Bragi fighting Cerberus alone.
Yeah, it's the world of the it is the world of the dead, but the world of the dead for all of Disney and Final Fantasy so far.
Agrees,
like it's the world of all of that.
Asking them to make sure that Bragi is okay,
because
before he and Ericus
there's dead Final Fantasy characters in Hades too.
But and Omod needn't have bothered running back, as Bragi and Boulder have already convinced the beast to turn.
Like it's so wild the implications they created with this.
Bragi that the darkness here is especially dense. Their usual methods at fighting it won't work. This is enough for the penny to drop for Bragi, who has likely also been trying to figure out just what has been going on. He realizes in that moment that Boulder is responsible for most, if not all, of the chaos that has befallen the upper and lower classmen up to this point.
Okay,
Boulder
so somebody caught on.
Up, that the time has come to snuff Bragi out as well and blame his death on Cerberus. But Bragi is confusingly not afraid. Or even that bothered at all, to be honest.
Wait, why not?
It is at this point that I'm going to give a warning to the people that have not yet played and seen the ending of Kingdom Hearts 3.
Okay. Oh, wait, I played. Okay, never mind.
The video forward to the timestamp they see on the screen.
So we've seen this about Kingdom Hearts and the origin of life. I guess that's true. Yeah, I guess that is true. You might be onto something with that. Might be onto something. All right. So we have Epilogue of Kingdom Hearts 3. So we've seen the Epilogue of Kingdom Hearts 3. We're good to continue.
At this time, Bragi dispels his Keyblade and begins to lay some cards of his own on the table. Because this is the end for both of them, not just Bragi.
Wait, what?
If Boulder dispatches Bragi here and goes back alone, Xehanort's suspicions of Boulder are 100% confirmed. But Boulder isn't worried. He doesn't need to go back right away, he just needs Bragi dead. But now here Bragi is unleashing some vague threats that completely baffle Boulder, saying that he'd draw far too much attention as a vessel, and that Bragi would rather keep his current body a little longer. Whatever that means. Boulder strains to even hold his weapon against the unarmed
How does he know about that?
Until Bragi effortlessly resummons his own Keyblade and disarms his former classmate with lightning fast speed. Bragi mocks the far less experienced Boulder, and even though it seems like he could easily put a stop to Boulder's entire plan here and now,
I didn't know he was about that life.
Bragi states that he doesn't want to fight.
Bragi is a Giga Chad, yeah.
Plan and simply disappear. Boulder is utterly perplexed and asks just who Bragi really is, a question to which he receives no answer, and the frustrated boy resummons his blade and charges towards Bragi, ready to strike him in the back. He might have even got a couple of good hits in, we don't know, but ultimately, Boulder was not able to take his opponent down. We'll come back to Bragi later. Because meanwhile, Xehanort and Ericus have still been pressing onwards, and Xehanort finally alludes to the fact that something about the situation has been bothering him. He doesn't reveal to Ericus his suspicions of Boulder just yet, and before much longer, the duo have reached
here's the dead upperclassmen, whose fits are fire.
From above,
they might be dead, but them fits ain't never dying.
Helgi and Sigrun appear before Xehanort and Ericus. They are surprised to hear that Vidar is planning on summoning Kingdom Hearts to purge the worlds, and Hoda actually closes her eyes and clutches her heart when Ericus reveals that Vidar's reasoning is that he wants to destroy the darkness that took the quartet away from them. Heimdall tells their recollection of the story, that the trio went chasing after the absent Hoda, only to find her already fading away by the time they reached her. They attempted to battle the evil fairy, but no mention was made of Boulder at all. At some point they must have been struck down, and when they awoke, all that was left of them was their hearts, cast adrift in a world with a never-ending sky and ocean. Spoiler warning for Kingdom Hearts 3.
That is a spoiler warning for Kingdom Hearts 3, yeah.
That game should recognize the description of the final world.
That's heaven.
And it's interesting to think that even though these people did not die in Olympus or the underworld, their hearts have been temporarily summoned from the final world to this place, and Xehanort and Ericus can even see them in their original forms. Perhaps there are other hearts in the final world that this same ability could be used on.
That is
Ericus
so weird.
Maleficent is the true threat they seek, though she doesn't sound anything like the formless darkness that Vidar was concerned about, and Heimdall and Helgi reject the notion as well.
Yeah, the fits are fire. Fits are fire.
The upperclassmen's time in the final world seems to have granted them some new level of perspective. That maybe the difference between light and darkness is not as straightforward as they had been led to believe. That instead of feeding into the conflict born of light and dark, perhaps there was a way to understand other people and not immediately write off others with opposing beliefs as being followers of darkness. Xehanort and Ericus don't seem to share the viewpoint, but the upperclassmen are not here to judge. Their final message is that Xehanort and Ericus' lives are not the upperclassmen's to judge.
There's some neutrality between the two?
They should broaden their horizons.
Who would have thought?
Find their own answers. And with that, their time is up.
What do you mean?
The four begin to fade away back into the light. But before she goes, Hoda approaches Xehanort and asks him for a favor. Hoda has remained quiet all this time, perhaps out of a guilty conscience, or so as not to reveal what she knows about her brother's involvement in what has happened. But now she asks Xehanort for a chance to temporarily rest within his heart and go with him, to see her brother and speak to him one more time. Now that they have conversed with their allies that have passed on, Xehanort and Ericus race back to their friends. Ermod took off to search for Balder and Bragi, so the pair is only able to find Erd. Ericus calls out to the keeper of this domain for assistance in finding the rest.
Or Hades
materializes immediately upon hearing his name being called. Erd asks the Lord of the Dead if he knows where either Bragi or Balder are, and Hades is almost insulted by the insinuation that he would bother to keep tabs on or even learn the names of these two insignificant young Keyblade wielders.
That's fair, they're not dead, so why does he care?
Here, as a new permanent resident of the underworld. Hades' words are written to deliberately obscure the fate of Balder and Bragi, as at this stage the audience has not yet learned about Balder's fall to darkness, nor Bragi's secret agenda. But in hindsight, we know that neither Balder nor Bragi are actually dead, so I can only infer that Bragi has already left this world, and that Hades considers the unassuming Balder to be as good as his already. The group is outraged. Erd in particular is absolutely not about to leave without her friends, which is especially understandable given that she wasn't even present when Xehanort made the deal in the first place. But Hades protests that they knew the terms of the agreement, and if they won't honor it, then he can always make room for everyone here. They begin to battle, but before too long Ermod returns from his unsuccessful search and blocks one of Ericus' strikes. He is completely appalled by his friend's actions. How is attacking a resident of this world maintaining the order?
Bro, Hades is evil!
Convincing Ermod that Hades is the reason why he could not find Bragi or Balder, and that's enough for Ermod to switch sides.
There you go,
Hades is more than a little agitated at this point. Regardless of the accusations, he hasn't personally taken anybody as a pawn yet. And now that he's facing off against 4 of these self-righteous little twerps, it might be time to get serious. He raises his hand to cast some sort of attack, but he and the 4 wielders are quickly taken by surprise. A giant portal of darkness has somehow appeared behind his foes, a portal which has enough of a gravitational force to draw the 4 young wielders inside before dispersing.
I don't think I've seen a door to darkness that strong.
All that bluster, and those 4 weirdos just vanished like that? But as he begins to turn and walk away, he catches sight of the person who summoned the mysterious portal. That white-haired Keyblade wielder from earlier. Balder was acting from the shadows, and while the wielders were worn down and distracted by Hades, he seized this golden opportunity to claim some more victims. The way that the portal was opened by a Keyblade wielder of darkness and then drew in 4 lights is ironically a total inverse of the conclusion of Union Cross.
Yeah, where it drew in 4 darknesses.
The same maneuver to trap 4 darknesses within a corridor of light. You know, it's sort of like poetry, they rhyme. Either way, the 4
and the darkness is entirely, I mean, true.
Bragi is long gone.
That is
and Balder
true.
is certainly not about to hang around and become Hades' pawn.
They did definitely only believe that the light was the only way.
In Hades' next scheme. Xehanort awakens in the chaos of a corridor of darkness and spots Ericus unconscious nearby. He rushes to his friend and manages to shake Ericus awake, urging him to immediately equip his Keyblade armor. Xehanort cautions that if either of them listen to the faint whispers of this place, the darkness will worm its way into their minds, and then their hearts. Their Keyblade
Not
armor will
wrong.
buy them some time, but its protection won't last forever. They need to
He's
find
not
a
wrong.
way out. But how? Things look bad, and the pair decide their first move should be to locate Omod and Erd.
The doomed
That pair have also
Yowie.
banded together and equipped their own armor.
Yeah,
But
it is kind
unfortunately,
of just doomed Yowie,
Omod has
ain't
begun
they?
to hear the murmurs, and believes that darkness has breached his heart. He collapses in pain as Erd urges him not to give up hope, despite the darkness corroding away their armored masks as they speak. But there, slightly out of sight, perhaps a faint glimmer of hope. Erd seems
Do
to
they take their
recognize
helmets
someone
off?
and smiles, but within moments assumes a cautious stance. Balder
Is it
has
fucking
followed his
Balder?
prey into the corridor of
It
darkness.
is Balder. God damn
There
it.
is nothing the helpless pair can do to avoid being his fifth and sixth victims.
God damn it,
With one
Balder.
final strike
Stop
from
killing.
Balder, Erd and Omod's last moments are spent incapacitated as the darkness eats away at their Keyblade armor before finally consuming their bodies, leaving their hearts to drift away.
Into the final
Nearby,
world.
but tragically too far away to help, Xehanort and Ericus continue to trudge through the fog of darkness, but the dark clouds
Yeah,
are becoming
Balder,
too much
yeah,
to bear,
come on,
and
man,
Ericus
stop
falls
being
to his
evil.
knees before completely keeling over. A careful eye will notice that the
He's just
tufts of
evil for the
darkness
sake of being
appear to be
evil.
in the shape of Balder's silhouette, and as Xehanort hobbles back to his friend's side, he too finally concedes to the darkness and falls unconscious as well. Balder walks towards his prey, but is forced to flee at the sight of
Yeah,
a
there's a
brilliant
lot of
sphere
lore
light
happening right now.
approaching from the distance. Master Odin has finally arrived, and his light engulfs the two collapsed students. No more darkness corrodes their armor, now that his
What?
light is shielding them. Odin sadly remarks that only these two remain, and Balder can only watch from the shadows.
What
as
do you
Odin opens a
mean,
corridor of light
Odin?
with the Master Defender Keyblade, revealing that he is the iconic weapon's current wielder, saving the two boys' lives as they escape this nightmare and flee to Scala Ad
He's
Kaim.
so sus.
What can even be
Dude
said
is so
after
sus.
all the horrible things that have happened? Without speaking a word and without even really looking at each other, Xehanort and Ericus assemble their board for a round of chess. Maybe it brings them some comfort to engage each other in a familiar game with rules, order, and a predictable outcome.
Wait, what?
Master Odin
Oh, did I get
arrives
the same
to
outfit
greet his
again?
two remaining pupils.
Randomizer
and
go.
of any responsibility for the immeasurable losses that have been suffered.
Yeah, that's a different
He
outfit.
blames the
I'll take that.
upperclassman's departure, as well as his own inability to identify this unknown new darkness for the tragedies. Strange to blame the upperclassman's departure when it was Odin himself that arranged the ill-fated voyage, but we'll move on as he does. Odin insists that the
So,
sacrifices of
we're
all
not
the
going to
others
talk
must
about all
not
the
be
other
in
dead
vain.
students?
Ericus shows regretful reverence by evoking the names of those he believed to have passed. Erd and Omod lost in the darkness. Bragi and
Only
Balder
the gay
presumably
survived.
fell in the underworld.
I guess that's
But at the
technically
mention of
true this
Balder's
time.
name,
Yeah.
Odin is suddenly
No
very
one else lived but
confused.
them.
He doesn't inform Xehanort or Ericus of his thought process, but he must be wondering, how could these two have crossed paths with Balder when Odin had kept Balder isolated in the infirmary?
Yeah, so he
There's
didn't
no
know
time
he
to ponder
escaped.
this question, because without warning, the castle begins to quake.
He didn't
The
know he
world
escaped.
is under
Okay.
attack. But this may be another event that Master Odin had a level of foresight about.
Makes you want to
because
put on
his
your
next
hoodie.
words are,
Hey, if you're cold,
"So
put a
it
hoodie on.
begins." He orders Ericus and Xehanort to remain here, as he summons the ancient no-name Keyblade from its position on the wall, despite
Why are
already
you
being
summoning
shown to be
No-Name?
the wielder of the Master Defender, implying that whether Odin knew of the hidden truth behind the blade or not, the Master of Masters was about to get a front row viewing of everything that was about to happen.
Oh
Odin left the
no.
classroom to go evacuate the remaining students.
Anytime
confirming the
anyone
presence
brings
of
a
other
no-name,
classes
nothing good
besides
ever
the two the
happens.
Dark Road is centered upon. We will touch on Odin's knowledge again later, but for now, the time had come for Xehanort to come clean
Crap.
about his earlier suspicions. Ericus is a few steps behind Xehanort, but is still able to follow all the clues to the same conclusion. Balder fell to darkness after losing his sister, and is the one responsible for the deaths of so many of their friends.
Yep.
The young boy who believes in the light in
unfortunately.
people's hearts is being truly tested here, but knows what he needs to do. With raw determination on his face, Ericus charges off, intent on purging the darkness from Balder's heart.
Ericus.
Scala Ad Kaim is suffering attacks from multiple occasions at once. Either Balder is warping and blasting indiscriminately, or he has summoned forces
Honestly,
of darkness to help him in his raid.
They
At
were
least things
cool.
seem calm by the water's
And here
edge,
comes Balder
and
just
Xehanort and
slaying his
Ericus take a brief
classmates.
moment to reflect. Their journey began right here, not even 2 weeks prior, but with everything
Not
that has
even
transpired,
2
it
weeks.
may as well have been a lifetime ago. Ericus
Not
snaps
even
back
2
to
weeks.
the present and is adamant that he cannot lose any more friends, beseeching Xehanort's help to ensure that Baldur is saved,
Are you
not
kidding
slain,
me?
regardless of what he has done. Xehanort agrees, and immediately afterwards, Vidar, Vala, and Vali finally make their return.
Okay,
to
there's the
Scarlet and
upperclassmen.
appearing through a corridor of light. Vidar wants to know what has happened, and when Xehanort delivers the news of Baldur's descent into darkness, Vidar shamefully
definitely
reveals
blaming
that
this
he
on
already
Odin. This is
knows,
all Odin's fault.
but had believed that Baldur would never go after any of his own classmates.
100% all just Odin's fault.
And Vidar apologizes for being unable to bring himself to take Baldur's life. Ericus is appalled, however, and blames Vidar for failing to protect Hoda, believing Hoda's death to be the inciting event that led to all of this chaos and turmoil in the first place.
Technically, that death did lead to all of this, but that was Odin's fault for this weird mastery exam.
Not to let his heart give in to anger and fall to darkness, just as Baldur had. But Ericus is fine with embracing his anger, and reminds Xehanort that he had pledged to help Ericus.
Ericus, you need to stop this. You tried to kill 2 kids in the future.
And the 5 wielders begin an emotionally charged but ultimately pointless battle that leaves all participants exhausted.
That was weird.
With the battle seemingly at a standstill, the wielders take a moment to catch their breath, but the furious Ericus spies the opportunity for a sneak attack and leaps forward. However, Xehanort blocks the attack and subsequent strike, managing to talk some calm and sense back into his partner. Finally, the group can talk, and Vidar commiserates with Ericus' disbelief that Baldur could ever fall to darkness. Vidar did not want to accept that as the truth either. He wanted to believe that one of the true darknesses had returned and possessed Baldur, and was unwilling to make the difficult choice that could have ended this matter once and for all when he had the chance. That's why he was willing to risk it all on the power of Kingdom Hearts to purge that darkness from the hopefully faultless boy. But now, Vidar has given up. Even if he could summon Kingdom Hearts, he wouldn't. When push came to shove, the cost truly was too great. Again, he was unable to stand up and make an immensely difficult decision that could potentially affect the lives of people everywhere. That's actually what he realized that was not a good idea. Their abandonment of their quest for the 7 lights to summon Kingdom Hearts. In fact, Ver should be on her way to the top of the tower right now to tell Master Odin directly. This news is enough for Baldur to bring himself out of hiding and braggadociously announce his disappointment that Vidar had failed to gather the 7 lights. For the first time, Xehanort and Ericus can truly
he's
see
real evil. He's
floating.
floating. That's when you know you're real evil, is when you float.
Xehanort's heart, Hodor cries out in pain at the sight. Baldur is glad that Xehanort didn't announce his suspicions too early, and Ericus pledges to Baldur that he will bring him back to the light. Baldur's darkness completely obscures its host, taunting Ericus with the knowledge that it and Baldur are one and the same now. There's no way to destroy one without the other. Vidar finally concedes that he has no other choice, and the upperclassmen prepare to face off against the fallen wielder. But Baldur has no intention of battling them here, and summons a squadron of pure-blood heartless
the jacket's a big part of it.
Before warping away to the top of the tower to add the isolated Ver to his list of victims. The upperclassmen dispatch the heartless in moments before giving chase on foot, with Xehanort and Ericus in hot pursuit.
Just leave it to the upperclassmen.
Baldur gleefully reaches his target, and Ver expresses her condolences for Baldur's sister, asking if this is
Girl, get out of there. Baldur's gonna kill you.
And here, Baldur's darkness finally reveals that Hoda's death was not what had caused her younger brother's descent into darkness. The darkness within Baldur's heart was itself responsible, and only grew in power and control once it had snuffed Hoda's light out. It delights in revealing that it was the one responsible for the deaths of Heimdall, Helgi,
leave it to the
Sigrun,
upperclassmen.
Bragi, and Amon.
Come on!
And that Ver will be its 8th victim. It's again curious that the darkness is already claiming Bragi,
the upperclassmen
given that we as
ripped.
the audience know that Bragi has escaped. But perhaps he performed a convincing fake death.
Literally fell within the first couple minutes.
Baldur that he had been slain. Ver is mortified and vows that Baldur will not get away with this, summoning her Keyblade against her former friend.
Girl, run!
With the darkness as his strength, Baldur effortlessly toys with his opponent, electing to strike her down with an outlandishly flashy attack, which is blocked just in the nick of time by Vidar, Vala, and Vali. Ver passes on Baldur's murderous confession to the upperclassmen, confirming once and for all Vidar's theories about what dark fate had befallen this poor, forsaken boy. But Vidar had no blame to lay upon Baldur's shoulders, claiming much of the responsibility for the tragedy as his own. The darkness knew a
At
way to
least
make
he
amends,
realizes
though.
that in
The
some
upperclassmen
sense.
could accept their fated death by its
She
hands
lived. Look
as
at her. She
atonement
lived.
for their failings. Vali,
She's fine right
Vala,
now.
and Vidar pledged to send the possessed boy into the next life peacefully in Hoda's honor, uttering the ancient Keyblade wielder mantra, "May your heart be your guiding
It's been longer
key,"
than 20
as they
seconds.
begin
She's
their
alive.
assault.
Do your
Xehanort and
worst.
Ericus
Oh,
finally
boy.
arrive to see the battle in full swing, and it looks like Boulder is on the back foot. He bends over and breathes deeply, and though Ver is clearly worn down, the older students seem to be far more composed. Now, with the arrival
Yeah,
of two more
exactly.
wheels of
Even though
light,
it was Odin's
things
Mark of
aren't looking
Mastery
good for
exam that
Boulder.
caused this, they still
Vidar
blame
raises his blade
themselves.
to deal the final strike, but Boulder suddenly cries out in pain as the darkness within violently bursts forth as an
what
enormous
the
emblem
fuck?
heartless, Hringhorn, a creature fittingly named after the fabled ship that belonged to the Boulder of Norse mythology. Within
Oh
an
my
instant,
God.
Boulder and the creature warp to behind the exhausted Ver, instantly assuming an offensive configuration and readying
Four
themselves to grab a quick
swords.
kill. With a mighty slash, Hringhorn lashes out again, but instead of Ver, it has struck the trio of upperclassmen who gave their lives to defend
Oh
Ver
no,
once more.
it hit the three
Hringhorn
shot
returns to
him.
defense mode as the three upperclassmen
It three
begin to
shot
fade away,
them.
and the forlorn lowerclassmen can only mourn as Boulder's darkness greedily claims
His
eighth,
dude's body
ninth,
count's
and
too
10th
high.
victims. In his final moments, Vidar apologizes. The responsibility of taking Boulder's life has fallen to Xehanort and Ericus now.
Dude's body count's in the double
Hringhorn
digits,
moves
shouting to
forward
run.
attack once more, and as Ericus and Xehanort hold back its blades, Ver attempts to strike down the distracted Boulder. But that is exactly
Girl,
what he wanted.
run!
Dark power
Oh,
wells
come
within the boy's
on!
body,
Four,
and with
no!
one swift, fatal strike, it is released, piercing Ver and sending her flying across the room.
Oh, well,
She lands with a harsh thud and begins to fade away.
She would have
as
lived if she
Xehanort
ran.
and Ericus rush to her side.
yeah,
As she
yeah.
disappears,
Jesus
Ver apologizes
Christ.
for leaving her classmates behind and traveling with Vidar.
This man
Among her friends,
ran
that's
straight
where she feels
into
she
it.
belongs.
Just,
Her body fades
bro,
and her
bye.
heart floats away. Hopefully she will be joining her
She ran
friends
straight
very
into
soon.
that.
Ericus and Xehanort shed
That's so
tears.
crazy.
Despite already losing so many, this was the first time that their lack of strength had led directly to a
Oh,
friend's death.
man.
And it was a particularly sweet, innocent friend that they had wanted so badly to protect. 11 lights have now fallen. The showboating darkness wanted to claim its final two victims in a place worthy of the occasion.
Well, at least we
and
know he
walked
doesn't
away
get
to
those
the very
two.
peak of the tower, knowing Ericus and Xehanort would show no hesitation in following. At the highest summit of the entire world,
Where the fuck is
Baldur's
Odin?
darkness greeted the new arrivals, claiming that the 13 darknesses would be assembled here and now.
Where the hell is Odin at?
Xehanort and Ericus were confused, and Baldur's darkness finally revealed to them its true plan.
He is having his little Joker
wanted
moment. You're
Kingdom
not
Hearts to
wrong.
be summoned. It wanted the worlds to be purged, because when the uncontrollable force of Kingdom Hearts was unleashed in an uncontrolled state upon the worlds, everything would be destroyed, and eventually reborn in darkness. Vidar's plan to
True.
summon Kingdom Hearts would not have merely purged the darkness within Baldur's heart.
Yeah, because we
as
know
he had been
Xehanort
led to
completed the
believe.
13
In
sacrifices.
fact,
Yeah.
the darkness had been laying a path for Vidar to succeed in assembling the Seven Lights all along. This darkness was initially a mere shadow on Baldur's heart, something that Baldur could never so much as acknowledge for fear of eradication. But when it seized the opportunity and struck down Hoda, its plan to secure a future for itself was put into motion. It knew that
Oh,
Vidar would
boy.
be bound to seek revenge on whatever dark force had claimed her life. But when Vidar found out that Baldur was the one responsible, the darkness knew that Vidar would be incapable of claiming vengeance, and it either made a correct, educated guess, or somehow knew with confidence that Master Odin would inform Vidar about Kingdom Hearts and the method of assembling Seven Lights to summon it.
Which
Heimdall,
is
Helgi, and
so
Sigurd's deaths
crazy
were additional
that they would just
incentives for
assume
Vidar
he
to
would tell
carry out his
them,
mission.
even though
But
they
were
never
also
talked
part
about
of
it
the backup
before.
plan in case he failed. And when Vidar and the upperclassmen began to waver in their goal of assembling those important lights, the darkness understood that it had to step in and commit to Plan B. Because in addition to leading Vidar down its
Okay.
intended path, the darkness has also been working in the background to plunge 13 lights into shadow.
To Shadows,
Its
yeah.
own method of summoning Kingdom Hearts.
Yeah, where's
this may
Odin?
sound
What
different
is
to the method
Odin's
that Vidar
deal
was
exactly?
employing, or
Where the
methods
fuck
that
is
we have
Odin
previously
at?
seen in the series for that matter.
He ran
But
off
to
with
me,
no name.
It sounds like there are many
It started
valid
fighting,
pathways
and we
towards
never saw him
summoning Kingdom
again.
Hearts that may differ only in interpretation, not so much execution. Vidar was told that Kingdom Hearts could be summoned by gathering 7 pure lights that shone within the darkness of chaos. That sounds a lot like gathering 7 hearts of pure light,
Princesses,
that when
yeah.
assembled would unlock the door that leads to an artificial iteration of Kingdom Hearts.
Not the
Vidar was
real
even
one,
beginning his
but
task by
Kingdom
seeking
Hearts
out important
nonetheless.
items in Agrabah and Beast Castle, the home worlds of Princess Jasmine and Belle respectively, 2 who will eventually be known as Princesses of Heart. Balder's method was for himself, a being of darkness, to take 13 lights and successfully clash with them, claiming their lives and apparently resulting in the summoning of Kingdom Hearts. KH3 spoilers again, but I ask, how is that any different from technically 7 lights, but let's be real here, basically only 1 light, clashing with 13 darknesses, which allows the summoning of Kingdom Hearts?
Right.
A significant conflict born of light and darkness seems to be sufficient to at least summon Kingdom Hearts. However, mastering and utilizing its incredible power is only possible with possession of the true, complete Keyblade. Maybe I'm wrong here,
Right.
but I feel like a lot of the
yeah.
message of Dark Road is that light and darkness vary mainly in perspective, but they are very much 2 sides of the same coin when you get down to it. It's not like Kingdom Hearts itself comes with an instruction manual. I mean, we've already seen 3,
Why is it 7 versus
possibly 4
13? Because there's
different
13
Kingdom Hearts with distinctly
darknesses.
different summoning methods appear across Key,
At least in the current Kingdom Hearts 3 timeline, there's 13 darknesses and 7 lights. But in this version, there's 13 lights.
And I'd be happy to dive into this topic in its own
And there's
video
only like
if
1
you're
darkness sitting here right now.
In any case, Dark Road asserts
Kingdom Puns,
that
can you
13
elaborate?
lights being snuffed out by darkness would have been sufficient in summoning Kingdom Hearts. And here, at the climax of Dark Road itself, Balder believes he is already 11/13
Because they do flip-flop between the 7 and 13 a lot
just
in the
Ericus and
series.
Xehanort left to go. Balder becomes engulfed by darkness, assuming the form of Hringhorn once more.
The boat.
After an intense battle, the Heartless recedes back within Balder, and the 3-wielders gasp for breath, exhausted. Xehanort falls to his knees, and Balder readies himself to claim number 12, but Ericus is able to use the last of his strength to block the strike, and both attacker and defender fall to the floor, completely
Now,
drained of
Xehanort,
energy.
now! Do it!
Ericus sees their chance, and commands Xehanort to drive the darkness out of Balder's heart.
Come on, hit him.
Xehanort rises and walks towards their fallen foe, standing above
So
him
7 and
with Keyblade
13 is a
outstretched.
form of balance
Beam
between
of
light and
light
dark.
begins
It
to
can't
glow at the end of
interchange.
his weapon.
Okay.
But as Xehanort
Well, there's your
considers
answer.
his choices,
Liz, we got your
stops,
answer.
and the light is dispelled. Xehanort raises his Keyblade up high and prepares to drive it home through his foe, as Ericus pleads with his friend to reconsider. As Xehanort
No!
hesitates,
Why would you
Balder seizes on
hesitate?
that reluctance and unleashes a cloud of darkness that ushers the 2 into a shroud
He's been
of
so
shadows,
gung-ho
where
about
they
not
can talk
hesitating.
alone. The darkness insists that Xehanort's assumptions are wrong. It is not one of the 13
So
true
darkness
darknesses,
typically
as
outnumbers the
Xehanort has
light.
been led to
So that's
believe.
why we have the 7
To
Princess
prove
Light and the
this,
13
it attempts to draw a
shadows.
parallel between
But in this
itself and
iteration, there's
Xehanort,
13
questioning if
lights
Xehanort
in Dark
can honestly
Road.
claim that his heart possesses no traces of shadows.
So it can change in between
Xehanort
whoever's
really
strongest
believe
at
he
the
is like all
time.
the
I
others?
see.
Does he possess
Okay,
a heart of
that
brilliant
makes
light
more
that
sense.
shines
Okay.
like the rest? No. Balder can see inside Xehanort's heart even now, and there is no doubt about it. He and Xehanort are one and the same. Their role is to stand beside the lights, Balder with Hoda, Xehanort with Ericus, but beget shadows in their wake with their mere presence. And should those lights disappear, they are destined to be swallowed by the very darkness they themselves cast. Xehanort tries to deny the accusations, but the darkness doubles down on its claims. It is not one of the ancient darknesses,
insanely strong
but a being
darkness.
made manifest from the collective
Timothy.
terror of the unknown,
Welcome
although
back.
within the hearts and minds of all the Keyblade wielders.
We're
The empathetic Balder
diving
was
into
the
Kingdom
perfect
Hearts lore.
incubator to grow this being and see it fully realized as its own distinct entity. And Balder's darkness was not the only one. It claims that all forms of darkness, true darkness included, have been able to grow in strength and number over the years as a result of
he's
their
not a true
entanglement
darkness.
within
Okay.
people's hearts. Balder's claims have rattled Xehanort, but he regains his composure and readies himself. No matter what this darkness is or what it has
Oh, you want
planned,
head pats?
this all ends when Xehanort
I can pat my
strikes it
head.
down. But the
You
darkness
can technically
again
pat my
knows
head on the
that
other
even
ones, but
now,
you can't do it on the
Xehanort
TikTok,
cannot
sorry.
bring himself to take Balder's life, just as Vidar failed to do so before him, and that
Everything
inability to
seeks
do
balance, so
what must
13
be done
everyone
to
to
achieve
power.
their goals
Oh, yeah.
is the reason why all of these sacrifices
Instead of
were
20
even
plus
necessary in the
darknesses.
first
Oh, yeah, you
place.
can also throw stuff at me. Forget
From the
about
moment
that.
of its creation, the darkness wanted the worlds purged by Kingdom Hearts, and to bring about this goal, it devised an initial plot that only required one victim.
I guess I should add some new
Hoda.
things to the throwable list.
If everything went to plan, this
Although
should
all
have
the
caused
games
a
we've been
chain
playing
reaction
right
that led
now,
to
I
Vidar
don't really
summoning
have any
Kingdom
new
Hearts
things to
under
throw
his
in
own
there.
volition, And even though all worlds would have been greatly affected,
because everything that gets thrown at me is something from a video game
no additional
that I've played on
lives would have been
stream.
directly required to see it through. But when Vidar faltered in his goal of assembling 7 true lights, that is when the sacrifices of all these Keyblade wielders became a necessary means to the darkness's ends. To me,
I see.
It sounds like the darkness is saying that it didn't even necessarily want to take all these lives. It actually sounds outright angry at Xehanort that it even had to do so. But unlike Vidar or Ericus, or evidently even Xehanort, it was
unfortunately
willing to do whatever it took
it's not a,
to achieve its goal.
Deltarune isn't a 3D game, and the throwables have to be in 3D.
Xehanort responds by telling his
they
foe
don't work
to
if they're
hold
not in
on to their
3D,
anger,
unfortunately.
and Baldur is a little confused. Baldur had said that Xehanort was just like him, and it seems like Baldur was more correct than he realized. Because it seems like Xehanort was now finally ready to shoulder that burden.
The ability to
do
make
what needed to be
emotes,
done.
I would totally do like a Chris emote for Twitch.
The shift within Xehanort's
that way you could throw them at me
and knew
or drop them on me.
Life was genuinely
but yeah,
in danger.
unfortunately, yeah.
At which she
I've been playing a lot more 2D games than normal lately.
Heart, her voice speaking from within and urging the true Baldur to stay strong. At the sound of his sister's voice,
from inside of Xehanort, really?
Body language, and tone of voice changed. I think that now, for the first time since the infirmary, Baldur himself was once again the dominant force in control.
I haven't played Deadly Premonition on stream. I can't add that to the throwables. The throwables are only from things I played on stream.
Her original appearance, despite lacking a true
like
body.
my Keyblades.
And she immediately apologized to her brother for causing him so much pain.
Ow.
Baldur apologized too. If he hadn't chased after Hoda, she might never have been struck down. But Hoda holds her brother no ill will at all, and wants to use this brief opportunity to remind Baldur that the world isn't such a bad place.
She borrowed Xehanort's heart the same way Ventus
Baldur
does.
had not become corrupted by the evils
Can I add
of
myself
the world,
to the
as Hoda
throwables?
might have assumed. And with pure anguish on his face, Baldur told his sister of the things we had discussed earlier.
You're raising some valid questions here, actually. I don't know if I actually can.
He was absorbing from others.
I assume I
made
could.
all the more worse when he peered back into the hearts.
Yeah, I assume I probably could.
He had realized that there were 2 kinds of people in the world.
I don't see why I wouldn't be able to.
And though it seemed like everyone else around him was, he was not the type of person with a heart.
I would have to convert myself into a different file type, I guess.
Those that drove him further into the pit
maybe.
of despair.
It's possible,
most
maybe.
Of all, he was terrified of what would happen when he was left behind by his sister and her protective light, the only thing that could repel this encroaching darkness within him. Xehanort sees some logic in Baldur's theory that there are 2 kinds of people in this world, as Hoda steps towards her brother with arm outstretched. It's alright, she's here now. He doesn't have to be afraid anymore. Baldur lets
He
down
did kill
his
you,
guard
kind of.
and reaches out his arm as well. But as the 2 siblings look in each other's eyes, they see the truth, and both instantly brandish their blades to each other's throat. To me, Baldur has realized that all this talk is pointless. As said earlier, Hoda is a person with very similar values to Ericus.
So she would do anything to destroy the darkness too. Oh my god.
Must be eradicated. And there is
oh my god. Even after death, she's trying to even after death, she's trying to destroy the darkness.
To a younger sibling in his final moments, but ultimately, she alone possesses the conviction to carry out the sentence that no one else seems to be able to perform. How ironic. The Vidar cannot bring himself to
destroy these kids. Oh my god.
And yet,
thank God most of them are dead because the amount of therapy they need is insane.
Back upon Hoda herself.
Oh my god. At least they have some kind of peace.
Knows of his sister's black and white ideology, knows that her olive branch cannot be sincere, and as soon as he sees the look in her eyes,
I don't think he's Lushu. This is just too deliberate. This is way too deliberately evil to be Lushu.
A moment after hers is drawn, and he does not strike at her, merely maintains the standstill. But Baldur's action is more than enough to convince Hoda that her perspective was correct. Her brother belongs to the darkness now. Baldur muttered that he knew Hoda would
Odin
never
versus
understand.
Diz and Sora. Diz is still number 1, dude.
Hoda's
Diz
own
hates
actions
nobodies.
have validated
Like it's
the very
nobody's
fears
business.
that Baldur had been harboring all along.
Diz
the very
hates
terrors
nobodies
that caused Baldur
so
to chase after
egregiously.
Hoda in the first place. If no light remained to keep darkness
He's
from
a
engulfing
nobody. He
Baldur's
won't
heart,
feel.
Even Hoda herself would show him
No, Sora's pretty bad sometimes, but Diz is at the top of just like, no, they don't
Despite
feel
how long
anything.
I have taken to
Like,
talk
bro,
about all this,
chill.
this has all happened so fast, and Xehanort desperately cries out for the clashing siblings to wait. And as soon as her host utters his plea, Hoda halts all movement, almost as if she has been frozen in place. Her Keyblade slowly slips
Interesting.
from her
Why is she
loosened grip,
frozen?
falls to the floor, and is dispelled, and Boulder is stunned at the turn of events. I, again, invite other interpretations of this scene apart from my own, but I think that what has happened
this is actually odd.
is that Xehanort has finally seen that the true Boulder does still exist, despite how endlessly deep beneath the darkness his heart lies.
Oh.
When Hoda threatened Boulder's life, Xehanort had a visceral reaction and yearned for her to stop. And because Xehanort's body was the willing conduit through which Hoda was able to reject herself, when Xehanort decided for her to stop, she stopped. His feelings completely immobilized his guest. We have seen people appearing through another person's body many times.
Okay, you might be right about that. You might be right about that.
Language of the soft
I have that long of doing it, yeah.
Appearing outside of the body.
Odin has 2 generations under his
belt. For a specific example of a host being able to prevent their occupant from moving, we can actually look all the way back.
Yeah, because Terra did that.
Kingdom Hearts. When Riku surrendered his body to Ansem, the Seeker of Darkness, in Hollow Bastion, his own heart was sidelined, and Ansem's heart fully took control of the vessel, even outwardly altering its appearance to those who observed him.
And Ericus did pass it on. God,
Riku was able to temporarily exert enough control to force his body to halt.
Ericus really learned nothing, huh?
Gain control, Riku had given Kairi, Donald, and Goofy enough time.
It took him dying to learn a lesson.
In the case of Xehanort and Hoda, granted,
I got nothing else to do but listen, I guess.
When compared to my Kingdom Hearts 1 example, but I still think this is the most logical explanation. When Hoda's Keyblade fell, she was rendered utterly defenseless. And when Boulder realized this, he could have easily finished her off, but chose not to. He lowered his Keyblade, and I'd like to think that when Hoda saw this, maybe her perspective finally did soften here. Her brother did not immediately rush to attack her. Perhaps there was still some good in him after all. As Xehanort's control over Hoda loosened, Hoda did not struggle to immediately arm herself once more, but instead reached out her arms in a genuine act of kind-heartedness.
Yeah, he did blame the darkness instead of understanding it.
Gesture.
Had he just talked to Terra at any point, that all could have been avoided.
And
the Wayfinder Trio saga would have ended
the poor boy
right
and his
there.
so-called weak heart.
So
now
stupid.
notably appearing visibly out of sync with Boulder for the first time since the initial possession, the darkness forces its thrall to leap into the air, preparing a lethal strike that would destroy Hoda, putting an end to the one thing that seemed to threaten the darkness's hold over its vessel.
Hey, are those chains made of light?
At the apex of his jump, Boulder was suddenly struck and ensnared within a set of glowing golden chains, confusing everyone and causing the dark shroud to recede. We can see that Ericus is still close to the ground after colliding with Boulder.
Oh my god, Odin, he actually did something.
The entire previous obscured conversation must have taken place within only a few seconds. And in that time, Master Odin had finally arrived. And from the tip of the no-name Keyblade
that was a big treasure chest.
He was producing binding chains to contain the darkness.
Ericus failed to even send darkness.
That's will one day adopt and pass on to
that's
students
true.
of his own.
He just saw it as evil.
My apologies.
Yeah, that's
Odin
true.
was struggling to maintain his restraint over Boulder and commanded Xehanort to seize this one chance.
So Kingdom Hearts 1 only exists because of racism. Yeah, kind of.
This time,
actually,
Ericus seemed to support the decision.
Yeah,
though he seemed steadfast in his resolution.
It's not wrong,
earlier.
actually.
Perhaps Boulder's words, or the knowledge that the real Boulder was buried within this vessel, had given Xehanort pause. And now he stood silently, staring.
The
at
notion
the
that all darkness is evil and therefore must be destroyed is kind of what caused this whole series to happen.
One opportunity is slipping away.
Yeah.
There's no time to debate this further. It's up to her. Hoda resummons her blade, jumps up, and delivers a two-handed slash
even
down
Aqua
hard on
understood
her brother,
that darkness is more nuanced than that, and she still fell to the darkness eventually.
And retaliate with a simultaneous upswing.
Crazy.
Hoda's strike against her supposedly defenseless foe was a purely offensive
one. Well, Aqua did start out,
had rung true,
under Ericus'
teachings. Not come away unscathed,
yeah.
And both brother and sister's weapons disperse as their owners fell to the floor. This was the end of Hoda.
1000%. This is Disney's heavy hitter here.
She was able to muster faded into light, and her heart floated off into the sky.
Well,
the defeated darkness had one final message for Xehanort, a message that I hope you'll allow me to briefly extrapolate on. There are people in this world that belong to the light. Then there are the other kind, those like Balder and Xehanort that serve as a sponge to mop up the excess darkness. The people of this light-based society are taught so relentlessly that the light they pledge themselves to is good, and that darkness
Even
is
though it's
unreservedly
not
evil.
Yeah,
Any
yeah, exactly.
instance of
Okay,
it
they're
is
just he's
wrong
just saying
and
what I
must
was
be
saying.
eradicated. There is never any room for discussion. When
And
the
we
two
show
opposing
Aqua. Oh
forces
my
meet,
god.
of course, conflict immediately arises. So, it's reasonable to assume that if a person of light has a goal, it will usually involve defeating or suppressing darkness in some way. And if they use the power of the light to achieve those goals, well, that's only natural and accepted by the society. But if a person like Xehanort or Balder even attempts to pursue a goal that steers even slightly away from the light, even more towards the middle, everyone loses their minds and immediately concludes that they must be using the power of darkness to achieve their dark, aka evil, ends.
Yeah, exactly.
Emotionless monsters.
There's no neutral, there's no middle road. It's either evil or good to
goals,
most of these
and they
people.
must be exterminated at all costs.
Yeah.
Balder's darkness sought to purge and reset the worlds, yes, but to be created in a society where it is feared and would be hunted down for the mere crime of existing,
the Joker face is just so perfect for him.
From? As I said earlier, I don't think the darkness
even
necessarily wanted
Keyblade
to hunt down the 13 lights, and even seemed angry that it was left with no other alternative. Balder's darkness sees a kindred spirit in Xehanort and beseeches him. Seek answers to these injustices of the world. Seek answers to the darkness before both boy and shadow collapse. Xehanort slowly walks towards Balder.
I said it better. No, thank you.
Raises his blade. Closes his
blast
eyes.
Him.
And strikes.
Jesus!
Balder
I thought he was gonna blast with magic. That hit him inside the head.
And as the darkness disperses into equivalent particles of darkness. Balder's heart, free from both light
and darkness, is used for good in that story. Right.
Just as his sisters and classmates before
It's a good foil, definitely. This story is a good foil.
Feels bad for Xehanort and the burden that was placed upon
Balder,
him.
dude.
And Master
I'm sorry,
Odin
Balder.
softly,
Jeez,
as
07.
Neither Xehanort nor Ericus seem to hear his voice. I finally see the truth of those words. Destiny can be so cruel.
Bro, you caused this.
Referring to, we do not get to hear them ourselves in Dark Road. All we can infer is that after everything that has happened, Odin has achieved an understanding that he was not able to until now. Again, Missing Link will surely
Balder
address
drives into the resolution.
But I feel like the
1000%.
implication is that Odin has some level of foresight about this time period and the events that have just transpired. The Book of Prophecies is the most likely answer to this mystery. After all,
it's gotta be the Book of
no-name
Prophecies.
Keyblade has been close by for essentially the entire story.
Balder Nord. No, not Balder Nord.
Intentionally written to be vague and confusing at best, and it certainly does not go into the details of any specific person's fate. I'd say that Master Odin, at the very least, knows that at around this time, a new form of darkness would arise in the world, and that when all was said and done, one known as the Dark Seeker would emerge. A person of great importance to the events that were said to transpire.
I get the meme now, unfortunately. I wish I didn't,
I'd even go
but
so
I do.
far as to wager that all of Odin's actions, the questionable mark of mastery, the spoon-feeding of information about the true darkness, and the methods of summoning Kingdom Hearts.
My voice is still kind of messed up.
Withholding of other information, and the interventions that always seem to come far too late. All of these were done in order to ensure that the Dark
honestly should have took a Mucinex.
The world, as was prophesized.
Oh no, Odin should not be forgiven. Are you crazy?
Will one day attempt to summon Kingdom Hearts in likely this very same location.
I have a beautiful voice.
12 Keyblade wielders had lost their lives.
Thanks, I think, but this is
the task was done.
Not my best work.
Whatever relevant, pathetic words Odin spoke of have evidently come to pass and revealed their true hidden meaning.
I did want to get a new stage for karaoke,
cruel.
actually, but I think I'll wait on that a little bit.
1 month later, Xehanort visited the Skarlan graveyard, a field covered in what seemed like endless headstones. He laid flowers atop 4
Odin
graves
has committed
for his
war
fellow
crimes with
Lothman,
this.
Umod, Erd,
man.
Bragi, and Vor, before crossing the dividing pathway
True
and
war
laying out
crimes
more
have been
for
committed
Vidar,
today.
Vala, Vali, Heimdall, Helgi, and Sigrun. He adorned the final grave with 2 sets of flowers.
Yeah, that's a lot of graves.
In the Kingdom Hearts series, no body is left behind when a person is struck down, and so Xehanort is symbolically laying both Hoda and Balder in the same location, so that they may never be apart again, that they will always have her light to share. I won't ask the question of whether all of these graves stand in the memory of victims of Baldur's rampage, but one must wonder what is going through Xehanort's mind right now. Of course, none of this was actually his fault, but one can only imagine that certain thoughts have crossed his mind. Xehanort had genuine suspicions of Baldur as early as the Olympus Colosseum.
Oh, right, you can see my spine in that one.
If he had not been afraid to confront that awful truth, if he had put his task on hold, united with Ermod and Erd and returned to Baldur and Bragi in the underworld, making the difficult choice.
This is the kind of only one that allows you to see the robot
so
parts.
Much of this tragedy could have been avoided. Ericus arrives shortly after with a bouquet.
The Scholar Graves are not found in Missing Link. Oh.
Apparently, Xehanort has barely left his room in the last month. Ericus has been heard crying night after night in his
final guest. Luxu reveal incoming. Oh wait,
is
what?
hardly more than a glum old man these days.
Luxu's here?
Barely recognizable from the person he was before all this happened. I'll try not to read anything into Ericus's words here and banish any thoughts that Odin.
Oh right, I forgot about him.
Mind. What we do know is that Odin is apparently already looking towards.
We haven't seen him since they fought in the underworld. So yeah, he's been the only one missing.
He ceased,
and we know he's not dead.
Keyblade Master apprentices.
I guess it is technically true. Luxu is always here. Since no name is there, Luxu is there. Yeah, it's his role. I got it memorized.
Time for a change.
I got it memorized.
Xehanort concurs. Ericus changes the subject to chess and challenges Xehanort to one more game, and the pair exchange some light banter, as Ericus already knows that Xehanort will eventually say yes.
God, they're so gay.
As Ericus begins walking upstairs to the classroom, Xehanort smiles and agrees to the game before closing his eyes. He says quietly under his breath that
it really is just Doom Gallery,
to his dreams of the light.
I'm gonna be real with you, yeah, it's literally just Doom Gallery.
This actually confused me at first, because I am 99% sure that Xehanort is referring to a scene that takes place 2 years after this one. The final episode of Dark Road opened with a flash forward to 2 years after the events of the main plot. And I believe that for this penultimate scene, this is meant to be a nice little callback to that moment to close out the story. However, lore-wise, I think Xehanort is demonstrating his ability to see into the hearts of those close to him, and even though he and Ericus will not actually discuss these particular dreams for 2 more years, Ericus's is already firmly marked upon his heart. Xehanort doesn't have to worry in the way that Baldur did. Ericus's dream is to remain a loyal beacon of light to those that might be wandering astray in the darkness.
Of course.
So even if Xehanort were to lose his way one day, Ericus will always be there to rescue him. As the pair leave the graveyard to the east, a cloaked person steps in from the west.
Ericus would have never accepted the darkness in him.
Unseen by the two that had just
That's
departed,
definitely Luxu.
And stopped in front of Baldur's grave. The person lamented that Baldur wasn't the one they were looking for after all. Their chosen one had not yet appeared. But this escapade had not been for naught, as Xehanort himself might be useful to their plans one day. The stranger pulls back their hood, kindly allowing the audience to see that Bragi was the mysterious figure wearing the cloak. At this time, we are also treated to a flashback that illuminates more on the brief showdown between Bragi and Baldur seen earlier.
Yeah, he almost learned the right lesson. Almost.
Happened, but I didn't elaborate.
Yeah, Bragi was the only one that was missing for too long. It was not confirmed to be dead. So yeah, it makes sense that it's him.
Anyone who has not played Kingdom Hearts 3 yet, and I'll reiterate that same warning now.
Yeah, because I know that he can get new vessels too.
Because Bragi is heavily implied to be the latest in an extremely long list of stolen vessels of the Master of Masters' 6th apprentice, Luxu.
Luxu, yep.
This time posing incognito as a brand new Keyblade wielder. The talk of vessels and keeping this current body should have made this apparent enough, but the clincher was of course the, dare I say, iconic use of the phrase, as if, that his other well-known vessel, Braig/Xigbar, has used on numerous occasions. It's not exactly clear
it was kind of obvious. It was kind of obvious.
Actually did kill Bragi.
Fair enough.
I mean, we did see Bragi suffering quite a large attack in a flashback, so I think it is very possible that Bragi, or I suppose Luxu, faked his death and slipped away unseen to continue
Luxu likes to fake his death a lot,
just as he had done in the Age of Fairy Tales. The last time we chronologically saw Luxu was in the ancient past, and he had just sent something that he referred to as a seed of light forward through time, the true dandelion. He then had a discussion with the 13th Ancient Darkness that seemed like it was building to some sort of violent outcome. And then shortly afterwards,
he is a master troll like that.
Brain,
oh no, you killed me. Anyway, I'm just going to go over here into the next timeline.
By his own reports, He claims to have bestowed the no-name Keyblade onto a union leader at this point and taken them on as his apprentice, with instructions to eventually pass that Keyblade down again
with my
to an
avatar.
apprentice of their own, and so on.
I don't know, actually. I don't know if any games exist that look like this.
And without a copy of the Book of Prophecies to guide him, and naturally progressed through the hundreds, if not thousands of years that it would take until the Master of Masters' return, implanting his heart in a new stolen body whenever his current one became too old or inconvenient to keep using. So that brings us back to his line.
He's all about stealing bodies.
Graveyard. Bragi had a strong reason to suspect that Baldur was the so-called chosen one that he was looking for. But what does this refer to? Baldur was an empath, as we have discussed many times already, so I suppose that means that he partially fits the description of the Child of Destiny that I mentioned all the way back at the beginning of this video.
Yes, even though the player character is the one that raised Xehanort
earlier? Maybe, but I think the true answer lies
the player character from Union Cross specifically.
As said, Luxu was not granted a Book of Prophecies to accompany him on his task. But the Master of Masters must have left him some level of instructions for his pupil, because Luxu would know that the Master of Masters' return was imminent by the arrival of this so-called Chosen One. He refers specifically to a Chosen One in those exact words, as they are someone that will eventually come into possession of Luxu's no-name Keyblade and reenact the Keyblade War.
Yeah, the player character raised baby Xehanort,
and then the Master of Masters himself. Baldur did come extremely close. He plunged 10 lights into darkness, and if he managed to take down Xehanort,
which is how we got young Xehanort here,
and I suppose Odin as well, that would have made 13. Plus, it would have allowed him to claim no name at the same time, fulfilling all the report's criteria. So it's understandable that Luxu would have considered him. But even though Luxu only considered Xehanort as being potentially useful at the moment, well, in about 65 years' time, Luxu will be convinced that Xehanort is indeed the one he is looking for. Xehanort soon inherits no name from Master Odin, and Luxu will eventually step in and intervene directly in Xehanort's life once more, offering his services in exchange for the false desire of being bequeathed a Keyblade in another stolen guise as a man named Brage. Xehanort will then split his heart into 13 vessels, have those 13 darknesses clash with 7 lights, and as a result, is able to summon Kingdom Hearts, enabling the Master of Masters' return as prophesized. But for now, the usefulness of the vessel of Bragi
still no idea who he is, but he's around still.
It sounds like Luxu will remain Bragi for a little longer, but if he wants to continue keeping a close eye on the Master of Masters' Keyblade, he'll need a new appearance soon, as everyone in this world believes that Bragi is already dead. With Xehanort's displayed ability to peer into hearts though, one must wonder if Luxu will take some level of precautions when presenting himself to Xehanort some 65 years from now. One plotline running throughout Kingdom Hearts 3 concerns the location of the Black Box, an unknown place that even Luxu himself seems to be searching for. I have theorized in the past that perhaps Luxu was able to segment his heart in such a way that the knowledge was hidden even from himself, so that when Xehanort peered into his heart, or even implanted his heart into Luxu directly,
I don't know about that one.
Would not immediately
it seems
be able
likely, but at the same time, it seems like Luxu wouldn't have that width without it split his heart like that.
Far more than he appeared to be. This is technically the end of the main story of Dark Road itself. However, as has been mentioned before, this story also features several flash forwards that further connect the events of this series and allude to the events of future
1 year later?
Well.
Oh my god.
And I don't think I'd be fully explaining Kingdom Hearts Dark Road if I didn't cover at least some of those as well. 1 year after the main events
another
of
40
Kingdom
minutes
Hearts Dark
left.
Road had concluded, Master Odin decided that the time had come for Xehanort and Ericus to begin their preparations for the Mark of Mastery exam. Just as the upperclassmen had ill-fated done 1 year prior, the pair were both to explore the outside worlds and broaden their horizons before undertaking the test
there's so much lore.
As Xehanort trudged through the corridors of darkness to his destination, he realized how different his emotional state was now compared to when he first embarked with his friends to search for the upperclassmen. Or maybe these feelings were born when he took that initial step down this road 3 years prior, when the man in the brown cloak...
No, Odin's still necessary to the plot, apparently. He's got to train them.
He'd felt horrible emotions as he walked. Hatred, jealousy, doubt, but didn't realize at the time that these emotions belonged to people that he had yet to meet, and some were even directed at him. This initial journey was the point at which the first traces of darkness began to sprout within Xehanort's heart. Now, 3 years later, Xehanort walked these roads again, but even though he was clad in armor this time, Each voyage allowed the darkness to seep a little further into his heart. But maybe that was okay. If his heart was strong enough, if he was the child of destiny that his original guardian always told him that he was, then the darkness should not be able to conquer him. Xehanort dispelled his Keyblade armor and allowed a cloud of darkness to wash over him. However, this was a huge mistake.
That seems like a bad idea.
And collapsed within this turbulent tunnel. All was not lost, as within mere moments of his fall, Xehanort was approached by another man in a black cloak, none other than the Master of Masters himself, addressing Xehanort as the Singularity.
Oh.
The Master rescued the young wielder and took him to the Keyblade graveyard, and in his whimsical and mysterious way, startled Xehanort as he regained consciousness.
It's either him or Sora, because their hearts are
the two engaged
similar.
in one of the more interesting conversations of the entire series. The Master refuses to identify himself, stating that he could introduce himself as Theodore or Jack, but without any proof to back up his words, what's the point? He also refuses to elaborate on just why he happened to be walking through the extremely hostile corridors of darkness at the exact right time and place that Xehanort needed help.
He
tells
that's
Xehanort
oddly
that
convenient.
he used to be a Keyblade wielder, more or less, despite not being familiar with the concept of the Mark of Mastery exam, and even seems repulsed by the idea of traveling the worlds to broaden one's horizons, further fueling Xehanort's suspicions about his mysterious savior. To support his claims, the Master beckons Xehanort's blade into his own hands before physically handing the weapon back to the bewildered boy. This is an interesting display. We have never seen a Keyblade wielder able to exercise any level of control over another person's Keyblade before, unless of course they feasibly had some claim to the blades themselves. Riku was the true original owner of the Kingdom Key. Sora technically is Roxas in many ways, so these two examples make sense, and we're not even going to talk about what happened here. So unless the Master of Masters we're
not going to talk about Kairi
in some way,
let's just not even talk about Kairi, please.
The Master has dominion over all lesser Keyblades. The Master warns Xehanort against attempting to travel through the corridors of darkness unprotected, and grants Xehanort with his first dark cloak,
his dark robes,
advising that the older style garments will offer far less physical defense than the fancy new Keyblade armor, but in exchange, it will provide far more protection against the darkness. In return,
I'm just saying, let's just not talk about Kairi.
What lies in the hearts of others as he journeys through the worlds. He equates
she didn't
the
even like
that one might experience
she shouldn't even have a Keyblade.
As not always
she got handed one.
Well-meaning, calling them a false kind
Everyone
of
else has to
light,
manifest there. She got handed one.
Whether such feelings could still be thought of as light or darkness. The Master seems to categorize all people within two camps, those with power and those without. But regardless, all hearts are capable of harboring darkness. Those with power exhibit the sin of pride and judge those below them, while those without power envy those above them. The darkness that lurks within all hearts is allowed to rise to the surface when dragging others down.
Pride and envy are the two biggest creators of darkness in this whole franchise.
The Master wonders aloud in his own manipulative way which type of person Xehanort is. Someone with power or someone without. One of the strong or one of the weak. Xehanort doesn't want to indulge in the Master's pontifications of assigning people into two extreme categories. And even if he was to fall into either of these supposed types, that wouldn't actually mean that he carries darkness.
True.
But the Master questions if Xehanort's assertion is actually true. Can he say the Master is wrong after all that he has seen so far? Xehanort has no answer. The Master claims that observing people's hearts will help with Xehanort's ongoing task of broadening his horizons.
Then they have the seven masters named seven deadly sins.
Xehanort returns to hear all about it. So clearly, the Master of Masters has deemed Xehanort important enough to personally interfere directly in his life. It's important to remember
and he has
this
yet
man
to even
is
do
an
that for
enigma
Sora.
in so many ways, always performing whatever role is necessary to manipulate those around him into doing what he wants them to do. It's unclear how long the Master's Keyblade hung in the Scala at KM classroom, how many students were observed and assessed for their suitability as pawns within the Master of Masters schemes. But make no mistake, the Master was obviously not in the lanes between coincidentally when Xehanort needed help, nor did he just happen to be carrying a spare dark coat. Every word of their initial and subsequent conversation was carefully selected to ensure the Master's plans came to fruition. But how did the Master even show up at this time? As far as we've been told so far, the Master of Masters' plan was to set the events of the Keyblade War into motion, then time travel forward until the point in the future where he could reap the rewards. Lushu's grand task was to physically wait through the eons until someone was successfully able to recreate the Keyblade War, as this event would facilitate the return of both the Foretellers and the Master of Masters. But yet, here the Master stands, almost a century early, maneuvering perhaps his most important chess piece yet. Assuming the Master of Masters obeys the laws of time travel, he would need a medium, memories, and a waypoint to arrive at this time.
Into the Court of Darkness,
as does the no-name Keyblade that is observed all
he has memories,
life since he arrived at Scala ad Caem. So no rules on that end should be broken. The only question is, why is Xehanort important enough to leap out of time for? And even beyond that, why was saving Xehanort's life performed in secret? Why was the Master's most trusted pupil Lushu, a man who has spent an eternity faithfully awaiting the Master's return, forbidden from knowing that the Master had leapt out of time earlier than Lushu was told that he would?
Yeah, this is completely
The way
secret.
that the Master referred to Xehanort as the singularity is very telling.
He's a point which,
in physics, a singularity is defined at the point at which
he's got to be a point which everything revolves around.
A common example of which is the infinite density of matter found at the precise center of a black hole. We know that Xehanort's journey began when he was visited by a person in a brown cloak that set him down this dark path. A path that will eventually lead him to becoming the very man in the brown cloak that sends his past self down that same road once more. An infinite loop with no beginning and no end. A loop that can only exist once because it existed always. Perhaps being such a person meets the Master's definition of a singularity. But of course,
he himself is a singularity.
Also the one who will successfully recreate the Keyblade War, an event that the Master will have seen clear as day as he peered through his Keyblade into the future. At the culmination of Kingdom Hearts 3, Xehanort first defeats the 13
Lushu has always been freaky. What do you mean?
Sora is able to
his entire time as Xigbar has been freaky.
Itself and overwrite the light side's defeat, giving them another chance at victory. Yet even after this, Xehanort is still able to forge the Keyblade and summon Kingdom Hearts, before finally being vanquished by Sora and his fellow Keyblade wielders of light. Perhaps this outcome, two simultaneous but contradictory histories existing within the same timeline, is exactly the conclusion that the Master of Masters sought. And perhaps therein lies our answer for the question of why Lushu could not know about the Master's intervention to set Xehanort on this very course. Lushu was forbidden from taking a copy of the Book of Prophecies with him on his century-spanning quest, with the idea being that if Lushu read a copy of the book and knew exactly where and when he was supposed to appear throughout all of time, the very act of knowing his own future would allow him to alter it. Perhaps if Lushu knew with certainty that Xehanort was the scapegoat
that would allow him to
finally spelled the end of his task, he may have acted in such a way that might prevent that outcome from occurring at all. After his journey through the worlds that we do not get to see, Xehanort returned to the Keyblade graveyard once more, and viewers that have played Kingdom Hearts 3 will recognize this next section very well, as it is a word-for-word recreation of one of the first scenes in the Remind DLC. Here, the returning Xehanort yet again confers with the Master of Masters, and affirms that his journey to revisit the worlds and observe people's hearts has only solidified his beliefs. Regardless of how faint it may be, darkness lurks within every heart. And just as the Master had alluded to in their prior meeting, this darkness indeed causes inevitable struggles for power within each world. From Xehanort's perspective, the weak indeed usurp the strong in meager attempts to seize power, and perpetuate this endless cycle of chaotic violence as they scramble for control.
Wrong.
This must not be allowed to continue. Xehanort says verbatim that he has now learned the reason for his existence, and with the added context of Dark Road, I think we can finally understand precisely what Xehanort means by this. For all of his childhood, Xehanort was taught by his mentor that he was this so-called child
the player
of
character
destiny,
from Union Cross,
someone who was born to save the world from darkness. But if he continually observed that darkness lurks within every heart, even in these worlds filled with supposedly abundant light, then how could he fulfill that prophesized role? He had already seen the devastation that could be wrought by just one heart that succumbed to the darkness within. The catastrophe and heartbreak that someone could inflict when attempting to enact their own dark ambitions. Just one heart of darkness had nearly summoned Kingdom Hearts and thrown all worlds into turmoil, And in the infinite expanse of worlds and the countless people within endlessly grasping for power, it could surely happen again. But Xehanort had also seen worlds in which order was forcibly maintained. The citizens of those worlds could have darkness in their hearts. That was fine. It only manifested as insignificant, feeble fear anyway. None dared challenge the overwhelming rule of the Queen of Hearts or the order she kept. So rather than allow this perpetually repeating cycle of chaos as the weak vie to disempower the strong, Xehanort's experience told him that it would be better for all people to be ruled by darkness. As Xehanort discusses his beliefs, the Remind version of this cutscene veers away from Xehanort's perspective and arrives on the Master's hands. The Master's left hand is tightly gripped by the right, as if to prevent the Master from outwardly reacting to the news that his latest pawn was following the exact path that was laid out for him. Perhaps, in order to successfully manipulate someone into following this drastic path that culminated in the recreation of the Keyblade War, the Master could not have just simply told Xehanort about all the evils of the world and what Xehanort should do to set things right. But by carefully identifying someone who had experienced all that Xehanort had been through, someone primed to accept exactly the worldview that the Master wanted him to adopt, and by prodding and guiding Xehanort down this path to observe the all-encompassing darkness in people's hearts, Xehanort now unreservedly believed in his destined status. In his mind, he was the child of destiny. He would prevent the chaos of these false lights from consuming the world, and he had an enormous personal stake in ensuring that he succeeded. But as for how to actually make that happen, Xehanort still wasn't sure. With the journey to broaden his horizons almost over, the Mark of Mastery exam wouldn't be too far away now. Perhaps the test itself would grant Xehanort some clarity in how to proceed. But the Master of Masters won't hear it, urging Xehanort to listen to what his heart is telling him, regardless of whatever the Mark of Mastery exam might say. Xehanort believes the world needs him. He should trust in his heart and let it guide his actions. And when Xehanort does listen to his heart, he can feel exactly where it is that he is supposed to go. Between the time when the Master of Masters first rescued Xehanort and now, Xehanort was once again contacted by a future version of himself. The very same heart that had initially set Xehanort upon his journey 3 years ago showed up again now and assisted Xehanort in time traveling forward through time to assemble the 13 vessels that would make up the true Organization 13 seen in Kingdom Hearts 3. Xehanort time traveled forward as instructed and performed all the actions that we saw him perform in Kingdom Hearts Dream Drop Distance, where we refer to him as young Xehanort to distinguish him among all the other versions of himself that were currently present. His act of traveling forward meant he became a waypoint himself for the hearts of Ansem the Seeker of Darkness,
for everyone else to get there,
Vanitas, and the Riku replica to temporarily leave their places within the stories of the various Kingdom Hearts games and guide themselves into the future, to await the arrival of Master Xehanort as his body reformed after the destruction of both his Nobody and Heartless in Kingdom Hearts 1 and 2. But as we saw in Dream Drop Distance, the attempt to unite the 13 vessels on this day was thwarted, as the organization's plan to snag Sora as their 13th and final vessel failed, and young Xehanort's heart, and all the hearts that Xehanort had guided to that point, returned to their original departure points in time.
So unnecessary and convoluted, you're not wrong,
They time traveled forward once more as seen in Kingdom Hearts 3. This time inhabiting replica bodies that allowed them to stay in their non-native times for far longer than the brief moment they thought they would require in Dream Drop Distance.
Exactly.
But
with the replicas, they were allowed to stay.
By Sora and the Guardians of Light in the final battle at the Keyblade Graveyard, and each returned to their respective times. As per the rules of time travel, young Xehanort remembers none of his journeying throughout time. However, the act of him time traveling into the future has been etched into his heart. His future is now written in stone, and
which
in order
means he knows he can do it.
Becomes all these others, he must live his life exactly in accordance with his destined path, so as not to cause any paradoxical deviations from the history that requires him to grow and travel backwards in time himself, to send his past self down
since
the exact
he is the
same road
singularity
that he was once sent down. Which brings things back to Dark Road. When Xehanort says he can sense where he's supposed to go and what he's supposed to do, well, yes, he probably very literally can. Even the black coat itself seems familiar, which it damn well should, seeing as how often a version of himself will wear it in the future. But the Master of Masters doesn't want Xehanort to get too comfortable in this coat, and again in his manipulative way, states that if Xehanort truly possesses great power, then he needn't fear the darkness forever. In fact, one day, Xehanort will be the one wielding it. Xehanort has finally had enough of these games, and straight out asks just who or what this clairvoyant and mysterious man is. But the Master dances around the question, again reinforcing his earlier point that words could be misleading, but that the truth is whatever Xehanort actually sees with his eyes. Disregarding this message,
destiny is the big. Yeah, no, you're not wrong.
The Master's name.
The idea of destiny itself is the villain.
Finally drops all pretense and
like,
actually tells the youth his true name. We, the audience,
Sora thought he was, the destined chosen one for like a while.
As in both Dark
and then when it was proven to him, like,
the subtitle is blanked out.
In Kingdom Hearts 1, that, his Keyblade could be taken from him when he became a nobody and came back.
As he
like,
speaks.
Sora behaved a little differently.
Showed that the word is being censored by an outside force that doesn't yet want us, the viewers, to know. The enigmatic man confirms that he is a lost master, one of the mysterious Keyblade wielders of yore, for whom the ancient Keyblade War was started, just like in Master Odin's favorite story. And as the Master of Masters walks away, his latest pawn, properly placed now on the board and destined to fulfill his wishes, leaves Xehanort with a final message, just as he had with all the other young people who looked up to and trusted him. A mantra that sounds nice and even reassuring on the surface,
but it's destiny bullshit.
Seems
it's very bad.
With the machinations of the Master of Masters every time it is uttered.
Yeah.
May your heart
be your guiding key. That one phrase flux over so many things.
Every time.
I don't know the Master of Masters' full plan. I don't know Odin's full plan. But I would have to say Odin's more evil because the Master of Masters isn't saying destroy the light or destroy the darkness.
Now understanding the truth behind the mysterious stranger's words. Ironically, Xigbar doesn't want to hear about any old bedtime stories, urging Xehanort back to his task at hand of assembling the 13 vessels of the
That random is really random.
Though if Master Xehanort had been allowed to continue talking, perhaps Xigbar would have pieced together that the old man was talking about his former master. 2 years after the main events of Dark Road, Xehanort and Ericus reunite after their respective journeys to broaden their horizons over their favorite pastime of chess. It was always Ericus's dream to travel the worlds on his own, a dream he was now finally able to realize. But that desire for independence rings so hollowly now that his 5 classmates are no longer here. And isolation
they're just
is a constant
kind of
factor
just in this
of
class
Ericus's
chilling,
daily
huh?
life. Xehanort's trip, especially his encounters with the Master of Masters, has led him to do a lot of thinking on both the events of the past.
He did create the destiny, but he was purposely manufacturing the destiny.
The conclusion that he reached was that one lifetime was simply not enough. And whereas
he purposely manufactured destiny,
pupils to carry on one's
however,
legacy, he was rather taken aback to hear
fine and all, but he didn't tell them how to go about doing any of this. He just had the eye there and time traveled forward, so he could be, outside of all this.
Grand ambitions realized. Xehanort tallies in midair and finally settles on his number.
By young Xehanort saying that he would destroy destroy everything.
One last lifetime for
create a way for darkness.
To explore this brand new
kind
world.
of how they summon Kingdom Hearts.
This scene is perhaps
so either way, he was just trying to summon Kingdom Hearts.
The Kingdom Hearts series. And because I intend to continue discussing Xehanort's life in this chronological manner, I will expand upon exactly what this is implying a little later on.
That's at least what I want to think.
Xehanort's extraordinary dream will one day be realized. As for Ericus's dream, he simply wants to stay true to the light. Should anyone lose themselves in the darkness, Ericus wants to be there as a beacon to guide them home.
That is not what he did in Birth by Sleep.
Through the darkness
that is not what he did in Birth by Sleep.
Lives. And perhaps with a warm, supportive light,
he legit tried to destroy Terra for even talking about darkness. He was not a beacon, he was a destroyer.
And while these events may have played a part in formulating Ericus's dream, I think that deep down, he knows that his best friend Xehanort is someone who walks a road close to that dark path. And should Xehanort ever lose his way, Ericus wants to be there as a waypoint to guide him back to the light. This is the very same dream I mentioned earlier, the one that I can only infer that Xehanort was able to read within Ericus's heart 2 years prior, showing that Ericus's commitment to ensuring his best friend stays safe within the light and does not succumb to the darkness like Balder did, has not wavered after all this time, or throughout any of the things that Ericus saw on his own journey. After another 2 years of training and studying, and with
4 years later, oh my god,
finally on the horizon, Xehanort prepared to leave Scala ad Caem once more. On a dark and rainy day, just before his departure, a dejected Xehanort yet again visited the graveyard where his friends and former classmates were symbolically laid to rest to pay his respects, showing that the events that took place those 4 years ago still weighed heavily on Xehanort's mind and continued to inform his current actions. Ericus also arrives and greets his sullen comrade, trying to get Xehanort to remember the good times with their departed friends. But Xehanort's demeanor is unchanging, even as Ericus continues to extend an olive branch by saying that he doesn't have to go anywhere, and that what happened to these people wasn't Xehanort's fault. Clearly, Ericus has observed quite a shift in his friend over the past 2 years, as any trace of that curious and naive boy he once was is gone, and a permanent scowl now constantly adorns Xehanort's face. A potent cocktail of emotions must be constantly mulling within Xehanort at this point. The weight of his ever-present prophesized burden to somehow save the world from chaos, the awful implications of just what saving the world would require him to do, plus the constant and deeply personal reminders of what could happen.
I was trying to see if there was like a pronunciation thing in the wiki for it.
Lacked the conviction to do what was necessary. Xehanort does not place any of these worries on Ericus' shoulders, and simply states that he wants to see
you're not wrong. He's killed a lot more people than
But
yeah, he's killed a lot of people,
confused
actually.
and concerned. Haven't they already spent a year seeing what's out there? What isn't Xehanort telling
his
him?
His actions and indirect actions have led to the deaths of many.
Xehanort has no answer for these questions and begins leaving the graveyard to commence his departure. But Ericus calls out through the rain that Xehanort had better return. The pair have a score to settle after all. Ericus is about 200 losses behind Xehanort in chess, and by the sounds of things, he intends to even the score, no matter how far behind Ericus and his light pieces are, or how many times he has tried and failed before.
Huh.
Xehanort turns around to correct
I didn't know they were tallying the chess record, actually.
His best friend's
That's
face,
new lore for me.
There it is. A glimmer of light and hope has broken through the turbulent dark clouds that obscure Xehanort's heart. Xehanort questions if Ericus really means what he said. Was Xehanort truly not to blame for his classmates' deaths? Could he still remain here?
Oh, 1,000%,
beside the light after all that had happened?
They definitely are, yeah.
Had he not already walked too far down this dark road? With all the turmoil that Xehanort faces, he has almost
God, he put him down.
Will always
he legit put him down.
Always be there for him, no matter what.
Oh, Balder, man.
Common ground finally found between the pair. Ericus bids Xehanort well on his journey, knowing that Xehanort will always have a beacon of light to show him the way home. We only see one instance of what Xehanort witnessed while on this latest journey through the world.
You know, I honestly don't think it would fix the problems here.
And dragged before Wonderland's
Ericus still hates darkness. That wouldn't fix it.
Xehanort was charged with trespassing and willfully disturbing Her Majesty's peace, exactly as his classmates had been accused of 4 years prior. Perhaps Xehanort attacked some Heartless to get the guards' attention in the same way that they had. The Queen is predictably infuriated by Xehanort's transgressions, but surprisingly, she doesn't recognize him, even after their 2 prior encounters.
I don't think that's true. I don't think he can do that. You're asking a lot of the chosen one.
Time flows differently from one world relative to the next. We can assume that because Sora, and then Roxas, will visit Wonderland about 70 years from now to find the Queen of Hearts and all her subjects within it alive and well, that time must be flowing extremely slowly in this world, relative to what we can assume is the true flow of time throughout the realm of light. So what I'm getting at here is though it has been 4 years from Xehanort's perspective, barely any time is likely to have passed for the Queen of Hearts at all. Which makes it even more interesting that she does not seem to remember one of the mysterious outsiders who stormed into her courtroom twice and caused an enormous ruckus a relatively short time ago. Xehanort is surprised by the Queen's amnesia, but upon peering into the Queen of Hearts' heart, he observes that darkness has once again taken root within. This is apparently precisely the outcome that Xehanort anticipated seeing, a confirmation of the last 2 years of studying and the reason for his journey to the outside worlds once more. Xehanort smiles to himself as the Queen once again demonstrates her wrath, and he confidently strides up to the courtroom podium to receive his sentence. So despite destroying a physical embodiment of the darkness in the Queen's heart not once, but twice,
she still has another one.
Only a short time later, once again the woman's heart overflowed with darkness. So why does this information not only not surprise Xehanort, but even seem to make him happy? I absolutely have thoughts about this, but maybe I'll elaborate on them a little later.
Yeah, she does like control and get angry easily, so yeah.
Just as she had delivered the first time, I'm sure
What
the
the hell
verdict
was
for
that?
Xehanort's
That
latest
was so
crimes was
quick.
also guilty, but clearly Xehanort did not allow himself to receive the capital punishment that the Queen felt he deserved. Perhaps he had to battle yet another Heartless embodying the sin of wrath, or maybe he merely portaled out of the world after his hypothesis was confirmed. Xehanort might have even journeyed to more worlds as part of this latest pursuit of knowledge, but we do not get to see anything that happened
again.
immediately following this scene. But what we can surmise is that in the 2 years that followed, the youth eventually returned home. And after 6 years had passed since the main events of Kingdom Hearts Dark Road, it is implied that Xehanort and Ericus' Mark of Mastery exam was finally conducted by Master Odin. The curious,
and we know they both are
with a yet
Keyblade
unknown
masters,
agenda,
so
seen
clearly
wielding
they
both the
pass.
blade associated with darkness and another of light in equal measure, eventually named the pair as Keyblade Masters, and passed one of those ancient blades
Xehanort got no
onto each of
name,
his inheritors, respectively.
and
But
Ericus
Xehanort
got the
believed
Guardian,
that though
or
both
whatever.
friends had been granted the title of Master, only Ericus, new wielder of the Master Defender and known descendant
Master
of a
Defender,
long
there we go.
lineage of Keyblade wielders, was Master Odin's true successor and heir. Xehanort would later write about this time period in his 8th report, wherein he also discussed Ericus' refusal to sway from the absolute perspective of light being the only path forward to protecting the world.
See, he
and
still couldn't
darkness
sway
in all
him.
its forms being a non-negotiable evil.
He couldn't
In all
sway
the
him.
years since he first arrived in Scarlet Adkayan, and through all the countless encounters with light and darkness that he had seen throughout
Yeah,
his life,
it wasn't going to happen.
Xehanort's perspective had become more nuanced. He believed that light and darkness should exist in harmony, in balance with each other, and that too much of that darkness had been stamped out of these light-filled worlds for their own good. I've written about 4 more pages of discussion here on this topic.
Man.
But it's very much outside of the scope of this video, so I'll do my best to summarize and post the rest of that script on my Patreon. Essentially, I almost wonder if Xehanort has realized that in the aftermath of the Keyblade War, where every world now exists as a discrete little pocket of almost pure light sequestered amongst an ocean of darkness, the intended harmony of the universe has been completely shattered. Darkness is forbidden from existing, and yet, as a natural component of this universe, exist it will continue to do, cropping up particularly strongly in the hearts of certain people in each world. These people almost always disrupt the balance of a world ruled by light, constantly causing chaos and claiming lives as they clash against the unbalanced nature of their world, and are destined to be dispatched in the name of the light by various heroes, almost like some sort of sacrificial lambs that soak up all the darkness of these worlds and need to be periodically purged. Ultimately, such chaos could very easily again lead to the destruction of all worlds, as it very nearly did a few years prior.
Odin really messed these boys up.
Unless, of course, someone stood up and made an incredibly difficult,
I'm not gonna lie to you, Odin really
necessary and beneficial choice. And as both one of the few remaining Keyblade Masters in the world, and supposedly the prophesized child of destiny, perhaps Xehanort alone possessed the right to dictate the future of the worlds. 1 year after being pronounced a Keyblade Master and inheriting the no-name Keyblade,
So only 1 year after having no
approached
name.
his good friend and fellow master Ericus with a proposal. The pair should summon Kingdom Hearts and purge the worlds. Baldur would have used this destructive power to usher in a world ruled by darkness, and the cycle would have
He waited 1 year after being masters to say, let's summon Kingdom Hearts.
Chaotically fighting for its own existence. But with a wielder of light and darkness united at the helm, together they would tear down the tyranny of light and hope for a new world of light and darkness.
Yeah, it's just more doomed,
to be created from the ashes. After everything Xehanort had experienced, endured, and
it's just
been
more
led to
doomed now.
believe, he wished to create a world in which there would be no more conflict between light and darkness. This is how the Child of Destiny would save the world. But just as the deceased upperclassman had urged the pair to do years prior, the two friends had indeed broadened their horizons and taken much from their experiences, arriving at 2 extremely different perspectives as a result. Because Ericus, of course,
unfortunately,
was unwilling to budge on his worldview.
It seems like they'll never reconcile.
And rejected Xehanort's proposition.
Like it took them both dying technically for them to reconcile.
Brought up since birth to believe that darkness in all its forms is the definition of evil, and seeing firsthand the carnage wrought by a being of darkness that was attempting to do the very thing that Xehanort was proposing now. Xehanort spoke sincerely, claiming that this is what his experience has taught him was the best path to protect the world. and that he did not come
destroying
to
the
this
world was his
easily.
best shot of saving the world.
But
Ericus
Ericus is unconvinced and demands to know how Xehanort can be so sure that the drastic measure of summoning Kingdom Hearts is the correct method to protect the world.
That's true.
How
They
would
must
one
have
go about
reconciled
explaining the burden
somehow
placed upon
minorly.
oneself as a child? That it was their destiny to save the world from darkness? How could he explain that he felt the path to this outcome already etched upon his heart, and that he had no choice but to follow it? Maybe Xehanort can't quite put the feelings into words, because his only answer is to ask how Ericus can be so certain that his solution is not correct in return. Ericus appears sad and lost in thought for a moment, before readying his blade. After everything that Ericus has experienced,
they're really going to fight over this. Oh, wait a minute.
Someone this close to the darkness to summon Kingdom Hearts would surely be a disaster for the world. As a Keyblade master,
yeah, they are just all kinds of stubborn.
As Xehanort's true friend, Ericus must put a stop to him and show him the way back to the light. The two masters leapt into the air as the clash of their weapons rang out. Xehanort's first true step towards enacting his plans of summoning Kingdom Hearts that would eventually lead to the Keyblade War.
I mean, it's like they were super cool in Birth by Sleep, but he is still a Keyblade master and therefore has to, be there to officiate the Mark of Mastery exam.
Ericus's words, "Life has taught us far different lessons," could very well serve as the thesis statement of Dark Road's entire story. Perspective is everything.
It really is.
Witnessed by the same two people in the same place and at the same time were interpreted in two diametrically opposed ways. In this example, because of the witnesses' wildly different perspectives on darkness and light. Xehanort would devote the rest of his life to his interpretation, and Ericus was equally ready to give his own life to ensure that Xehanort would never
not surprised. I was just yawning.
Through. In his 8th report, Xehanort described this moment,
yawning also triggers
noting that he and Ericus did not see eye to eye, and after this encounter, he left to wander the worlds, feeling true freedom for the first time since he stepped through the portal at Destiny Islands and escaped his childhood home for the worlds outside. But free to do what? How would he achieve his goals, especially without the blessing and aid of Ericus?
Yeah, good.
Over the next several decades, the curious Xehanort
I don't know
would
if they talk again until like Birth by Sleep.
The mysteries of the Keyblades, with such knowledge leading him to uncover more about the ancient Keyblade War and eventually to discovering the legend of the fabled Keyblade itself, a weapon with which one could not only summon Kingdom Hearts, but also unlock and truly master its incredible power. With such a blade in his hands, Xehanort would not be merely at the mercy of Kingdom Hearts to blindly purge the worlds and hope for the best, but truly in command to wield its power and recreate the world exactly as he saw fit.
Right. It wouldn't be blind destruction, it would be reshaping.
And research to reinforce his beliefs behind him. Xehanort once again
54 years later. Yep.
To Ericus' special inherited dominion, the land of departure, with a new offer. Would Ericus help Xehanort?
Yeah, he's really trying.
Task of obtaining the Keyblade. With this mighty key, Xehanort sought to first summon Kingdom Hearts, and then open every imaginable door to every world, beckoning whatever remaining Keyblade wielders still existed across these scattered worlds, knowing that they would flock together to battle over ownership of this precious power. The resultant battle would once again enact another apocalyptically destructive toll unto all worlds, reducing the already fragile lands of light to rubble, and with the power of Kingdom Hearts under Xehanort's command, he would recreate the world from the darkness that seeped in to fill the voids. Creation born from ruin, an entirely new world existing in a perfect equilibrium of darkness and light, one that the curious Xehanort could not wait to explore. As we see in Dark Road, and as we saw a decade earlier in Birth by Sleep, Ericus was willing to give his life to ensure that his old friend Xehanort would not be allowed to go through with this drastic plan. And after his words failed to dissuade Xehanort from his life's work, Ericus charged recklessly at Xehanort as the visitors strode away. But with a simple motion, Xehanort unleashed the power of darkness upon his childhood ally, scarring his face permanently with its tinged and corrosive power. For the first time, Ericus could see that the darkness had truly taken the man he once called a friend, and he only prayed that his act of desperation had been enough to give Xehanort cause to reconsider his plans.
He ain't stopping, bro. He ain't stopping.
64 years after the main events of Dark Road had concluded, After another decade of planning and exploration, I believe that Master Xehanort has finally learned the method for crafting the Keyblade. The blade was a perfect balance of light and darkness itself,
remember? Darkness bad.
But it was alleged to have split into 20 pieces, 7 of light and 13 of darkness when it shattered. So, if equal powers of light and darkness were to be pit against each other and clash, the Keyblade should be reforged. But Xehanort's body was growing old, too old to see this task through to its fruition. I think at this point, with his goal now so close to finally being attainable after a lifetime of research and work, Xehanort might have reached some level of sentimentality as he looked back upon his life and all that he had done since leaving his tiny island home as a boy. Before he carried out his grand plan, perhaps it was time to indulge in the pursuit of something a little bit closer to the heart, to seek out the very people that he once dreamed of. The people that had inspired Xehanort to leave his island and seek the worlds outside in the first place. It's also very possible that he simply needed an additional pawn to see his plan through, but whatever the reason, Xehanort returned to the magic mirror of the Dwarf Woodlands to ask the magical entity a question. Did those 6 friends ever even exist? And if so, could they be found? The mirror, in its typical non-conventional way, implied that indeed, the people that Xehanort dreamed of did exist, and though some lay beyond this world and time, there were some that could be found here and now, describing a boy bearing both great light and darkness that had arrived at a location that Xehanort instantly recognized as the Keyblade Graveyard. Those familiar with Union Cross
that's
will
how he
that
got.
Near the end of that story, after Ven had recaptured one of the 13 ancient darknesses back within his heart, Brain sent Lorium, Arena, and the unconscious Ven forward into the future to destinations unknown. As per the rules of time travel, they were reduced to mere hearts as they voyaged through time.
So this is how he found Ven.
Someone with memories of them, and a medium to rebuild their bodies with in order to become completely whole again. I can only surmise that Xehanort's act of seeking out and learning Ven's location may have sufficed as Ven's waypoint here. The fact that someone was opening their heart and reaching out for any trace of their 6 friends may have been enough for Ven to unknowingly latch onto and allow him to
teleport
arrive
here
time.
from time travel.
Union Cross made the effort to show the audience that the wind was blowing in the Keyblade
that's when
graveyard
Vanitas was born,
at the moment of Ven's arrival, which is a somewhat overlooked detail about this world, apart from all the tornadoes, of course. But it's a detail worth noticing when you compare his arrival scene
we never
to
got an
Lorium
explanation
and
for those
which show that pair have rematerialized in a field of flowers and in a lightning storm, respectively. Presumably, the developers would therefore like the audience to infer that these people were somehow reformed in their respective locations by using one of these elements as their medium, which matches what we associate them with throughout the rest of the series. So, I'll admit that it's a bit of a reach, but given that cinematically, we are shown several scenes of people arriving in the future after successfully traveling through time back to back.
Well, our scene might be hated.
Then Lorium in the flowers, then Arena in the lightning. 3 scenes that show particular focus on elements.
I will defeat Lark's scene in every fucking game I play, and I will do it brutally.
I don't think it's too far out of the realm of possibility to assume that the wind helped reform
We will
Ven
fight in the street and then kiss afterwards.
Wind
I don't
is
care.
Practically his namesake, after all, an element he most closely associates with apart from light. And it's not like there is anything else in this immediate vicinity that could have helped. The actual Keyblade Graveyard part of the Keyblade Graveyard is a bit further away, and the Earth Ven is lying on is more of that other guy's thing.
Yeah, it's more Terra's thing.
Immediately following those aforementioned cutscenes, another starts to play. And this scene shows that Ven's arrival point does seem to be at the exact spot that a certain someone, a someone that I don't think is Lushu, is shown to be walking through and pause at, with the infamous black box in hand, at some currently unknown point in time. Aside from lifting his hood to reveal a face identical to Brain's, we have not yet seen what happens immediately following this moment. Why exactly this person is here, and chose to lift up their hood and affirm their goals at this time. If said someone were to then influence this spot in some way, maybe by burying the black box here, who knows, but maybe whatever reason this cloaked individual was here has something to do with why Ven's heart arrived and reformed his body at the exact time that perfectly aligned with Master Xehanort's moment of introspection and future ambitions. Ven is
that raises a hell of a lot of questions
to carry darkness into the future, after all. His departure and arrival should have been witnessed by Lushu and
forgot about
Xehanort
this plot point?
respectively, And
I'm
as
just
they
now
were
learning
each
it.
wielders of the no-name Keyblade at those times, those moments should therefore be recorded in the Book of Prophecies. This has gotten very far off the rails for a simple tangent. Let's somewhat happily resign to thinking of the wind as Ven's medium until any further information contradicts this, and move on. As for Ven's memories, Xehanort has already displayed the ability to recall segments of a conversation from the ancient past because of his connection
even
to
though
the
he
player.
wasn't there.
And in that
Yeah.
very same conversation that he recalled in Wonderland,
Even though he wasn't
the
there,
name
he was
Ventus
raised by
and
the
Ven
player,
was
which is a
spoken.
waypoint.
I think
for
that
him,
Ven would at
guess.
least be able to recall his own name because Xehanort would have been able to provide Ven with that fragment of his own memory. But because no one else in this time retained any memories of Ventus from his time in Union Cross, essentially every other memory about his life prior to time traveling would be completely lost to him, making the boy little better than a complete amnesiac when he arrived in this time.
So that's how he lost his memory.
That the darkness that Ven absorbed into his heart came along for the journey through time, and that its presence may also be a factor in deciding where and when Ven arrived.
I guess that's true too, actually.
Maleficent could also be acting as a waypoint for the time travelers as well, but I can't say with any certainty if she's relevant in this case. Either way, Xehanort discovered that one of the people from his childhood dreams was indeed real, and took the young boy on as an apprentice Keyblade wielder. Xehanort would write in his reports that the boy was too young to inhabit as a vessel, but with the tremendous darkness coursing within him, the boy was a perfect candidate to serve in his other purposes. He would forcibly extract the darkness within Ventus's heart, creating a new being that would be known as Vanitas. The process very nearly killed Ventus, and Xehanort took the dying boy that he once dreamed
Does he remember
of
or
to the
not?
very island home in which he once dreamed of him. However, Ven's injured heart was able to reach out and connect with another, and the light of the unborn Sora's heart called back and filled in the blank space in Ven's heart that had been torn out to create Vanitas,
super clear,
influencing how that being would appear in the future. Slight detour aside, Xehanort now had his heart of pure light and pure darkness, and he reached out to his old friend Ericus to ask
another
care
character
for
named
Ventus as he
Deadly
recovered.
Sin, yeah.
Xehanort traveled the corridors of darkness with the injured Ven following in tow, his recovering heart completely sealed off from the darkness through Sora's protection. Xehanort also no longer
even though he
feared
hasn't
the
met
darkness,
Sora yet, of course.
walking these corridors without the protection of a black coat,
here we are,
just as the Master of Masters had predicted that he would. As the pair traveled, Xehanort recalled the journey his own guardian had taken when he left Scala ad Caem and traveled to the Destiny Islands through these same corridors, with the baby Xehanort swaddled in only a blanket for protection in their arms.
Yeah, bragging about someone who doesn't know.
Rather interesting, that Xehanort's mentor, the reincarnated player and protagonist of Missing Link, had, among other things, taught Xehanort that the one inscribed in the book, the one chosen to be a dark vessel, can connect their hearts to others and feel what they feel. In his
that does link to Ven and
to live
Sora,
up to the
then.
prophecy his mentor spoke of, Xehanort then outstretches his arms, actively embracing and connecting to the hearts of darkness that flood these
because again, he
corridors,
thinks he's the
in the hopes
protagonist.
that he
Oh my
might
god.
finally be found worthy of his supposedly destined role.
Yeah, he still thinks he's the
Xehanort and the
protag.
barely responsive Ventus arrive in the land of departure.
Oh, thank
They
you.
are greeted by Master Ericus, who takes Xehanort aside and leaves Ven with Terra and Aqua. We have seen the three disciples' conversation before in Birth by Sleep, but Dark Road allows the audience to hear Xehanort attempting to apologize to Ericus, before asking Ericus to take Ventus into his care. Xehanort says that he stands too closely to the darkness, and tells Ericus that Ventus could be the child of destiny, letting us know that Ericus is also aware of this prophecy.
Even though he just wrecked his face with darkness.
Lie, right? Xehanort might suspect that Ven could fit the description, but surely he still believes himself to be the one his guardian spoke of, even though that belief might be wavering after all these decades of perceived unrealized potential. Xehanort is also no stranger to lying to those he wishes to
I'm gonna keep following, bro.
in order to get them to behave how he desires. His interactions with Terra and Ericus throughout all of Birth by Sleep should give us little reason to trust him here. But what if he's not lying? Xehanort does already know that Ven is special in some way, having seen Ven in his childhood dreams, and he can probably peer into Ven's heart even now and see the miracle that has taken place within it. A miracle that occurred when the boy connected his heart with another's on the Destiny Islands. This gave Ven another chance at life from the clutches of death, a birth by sleep if you will, meaning this child with a heart of pure light
he said the thing.
Connects that heart with others has effectively begun a new life that started on these islands. These are all factors that mean Ven fits convincingly into Xehanort's former mentor's prophecy.
Yeah, he's at the thingy.
Let's put a pin in this for a moment, because, lie or not, the statement is enough to convince Ericus to take Ven on as a pupil. But the pair don't have any more chances to chat, as Ven can be heard bellowing out in pain from the entrance hall. As we saw in Birth by Sleep, Terra and Aqua's questioning about Ventus's past has caused the amnesiac boy tremendous pain. After offloading Ventus, Xehanort made to leave the land
should
of
have
departure
really
when he was
told them
approached
to
by
not talk to him.
Vanitas, who essentially asked if Ven was alright. Xehanort didn't answer the being, and Vanitas brushed Ven off, glad that the pair were rid of him. But Xehanort surprisingly says that he did all this for Ventus, not for Vanitas. Extracting the darkness from the boy's heart and leaving him to be raised under Ericus' guidance
people
will
suffer
apparently
a
not
lot
only
in
means
Kingdom
the
Hearts.
end, creating the clash between light and darkness
Yeah,
that
they suffer
Xehanort
a lot
sought,
in Kingdom Hearts,
but acts of mercy as well. Perhaps Xehanort intervened to prevent Ventus from the pain
I'll be real with you,
harboring
they
such a
suffer a
darkness within his
lot.
heart, or to ensure that Ven could not
like
be
a
the fated
suffering
one
simulator.
from the prophecy of the Child of Destiny if his heart was no longer entangled with darkness, or was sealed off from connecting with any further hearts. If Ventus no longer possessed these supposed capabilities of the Child of Destiny,
suffering simulator
then
any
perhaps
percent
such a
run.
frail child as Ven would be spared the burden of saving the world. A burden that Xehanort felt only he was convicted enough to see through, no matter what terrible sacrifices such a role would surely require.
Yeah.
Giving Xehanort a
Sure,
somewhat
buddy.
sympathetic backstory that informs his misguided lifelong goals through Dark Road, whilst also having to acknowledge and account for his particularly evil deeds seen in Birth by Sleep, was always
Just
going to be a
kicks
challenge
this
for the
kid
writers.
over, dude.
But telling us now that Xehanort was somehow doing Ventus a kindness by nearly killing him is definitely one of the tougher revisionist pills to swallow. So I'm interested to hear your interpretations as to why Xehanort would
Yeah, he
disclose
did the
such
title
information
drop.
to Vanitas at this time. Vanitas accused Xehanort of switching
Of a different
sides,
game, but still.
to which Xehanort responded by reminding the young upstart who exactly wielded the bigger Keyblade around here, before he began to probe the newly created Vanitas for information about the 13 ancient darknesses. He demonstrated a remarkable amount of knowledge about the true fate of the 13, knowing that the most powerful 7 were to be trapped within the Lost Masters.
Why would he, though?
That 4 more were contained within the worlds of
My
data.
thing is, why
and
would he?
just like Master Odin had said earlier, knew the rumor that 2 more were said to have been destroyed when Daybreak Town crumbled.
Considering Ven is
But
older,
Xehanort somehow also knows the actual truth, that one of those 2 remaining darknesses hid within a wielder of the light.
if you count Xemnas.
He
Okay, I
teases
guess that's
Vanitas
true.
with this
Yeah.
information, poking and prodding the being, and seemingly attempting to get him to admit that he actually is one of the 13 ancient darknesses of
Is
legend.
he still gonna get a nickname?
Xehanort wonders what
Isa.
reason one of these darknesses would have
You know,
to stay
I don't-
incognito in this time.
He should have one,
Do
honestly.
they fear the light, or something else entirely? Xehanort finishes by saying that his meeting
I
with
think
Ventus
Vanitas fears
was
the
no
light.
accident, that this was a fated encounter, which causes Vanitas to coldly ask, what exactly does Xehanort know about all of this? Because the 13 darknesses knew that Ventus was their chosen vessel. A darkness accompanying Ventus into the future was written into the Book of Prophecies, and that book ends by revealing that darkness will ultimately prevail and the light expire. So surely they want to follow the words of this book to the letter. But is there even more to this going on?
You think he fears becoming
Does the
human?
fact that Xehanort
I
seems to
guess
have
that's
cottoned
true
on to
too.
more information than he should know,
He does think of himself
warring
as
the
superior to
darknesses?
any human, so
Could there
yeah.
be further irons in the fire that this knowledge
It would be
reflects?
lowering himself to everyone
Xehanort
else's level.
playfully asks, what is there to know? Refusing to show any more of his hand, and Vanitas drops the subject, following Xehanort as the pair departed this world. Now, Xehanort was probably told stories of these events as a child by his guardian, and even may have dreamed of
he
this
is pure
exact
darkness,
moment
yeah.
where Ven reclaimed the darkness that had possessed his body.
Darkness
But it's
that looks
interesting to
exactly like
note
Sora.
that Xehanort somehow has even more knowledge of that ancient past now than his own master did 60 years prior.
Which is crazy.
Kingdom Hearts 3 and Melody of Memory imply that he may have a level of foresight and knowledge far beyond what we, the audience, were privy to. And I think it's interesting that Dark Road took the time to
I have
show
not
us
played
that
Melody
Xehanort
of
knew
Memory
these
yet.
things,
Shit.
and that one of the darknesses was concerned by this. This visit to the land of departure was the
Okay,
first
we're almost
time
at an
Xehanort
ending
had laid
anyway, so I
eyes
don't
on
think he's going
Terra,
to talk about
and
it.
here, he observed the pupil's lingering darkness within his
Cool.
heart.
I don't think he's going to talk about it.
Perhaps Xehanort even felt some level of pity for the boy, a youth much like Baldur and his own younger self that was taught to reject and demonize that natural occurrence within his heart. But regardless, Terra was the perfect vessel with which to enact the final stage of Xehanort's plan. we have
okay,
finally
so,
reached the end
damn it, chat,
of what
slow down.
Dark Road's cutscenes directly
Slow down,
cover.
screen.
And from here,
All right.
the plot
So
of
Vanita
Birth by
hungers for
Sleep
light as
and the
consequence
Kingdom Hearts series at large plays out as normal.
And risk erasing
after Xehanort
himself.
had begun infecting the worlds with
yeah.
Unversed via Vanitas,
I guess
Ericus
that's
invited
true,
Xehanort
actually,
to witness
yeah.
as he anointed Terra and Aqua as true Keyblade masters. Xehanort took this perfect opportunity to prey upon Ericus's flawed ideology, drawing attention to the
Or he would
abundant
not be able to influence
darkness he had
Vanitas.
previously
Right. And then
witnessed
Vanitas be
within
free to do
Terra's
whatever
heart.
he wants.
Darkness that, quote, was just waiting to be awakened.
But that would be too easy.
After experiencing the tragedy of the heartbreaking awakening of the darkness within Boulder's heart firsthand, Ericus was all too willing to take on Xehanort's suggestion that the two pupils be tested for the Mark of Mastery.
He never expressed his personal fears, I know, before we,
themselves back in the day.
destroyed him multiple
Terra's
times.
own instilled insecurities about the darkness in his heart are preyed upon, and he leaves Ericus's protection in an attempt to prove himself, finding comfort in Xehanort's acceptance.
Jesus Christ.
Ven is similarly manipulated into leaving the land of departure by Vanitas, growing stronger until he stands on equal measure with his darker half. And Aqua is also burdened with an awful task by Ericus in the name of the light, serving as a further example that faults can be found even in the most faithful of devotees. And everything the old friends
Aqua is the only one to try to grow from the
events
experience,
of Dark
though.
Road would lead to an ultimate climax, as Ericus is forced to make a horrible decision.
I mean, I guess it kind of does come off of him being afraid of being
Xehanort
human,
intended to go through with his
the way he
plans
tries to
of forging
devour
the
it, and not even try to
Ericus would have the choice
integrate
to
it, I
destroy
should say.
Ventus rather than let Xehanort succeed. And whereas the younger Ericus was unable to go through with such a terrible choice as a child, the older and hardened adult possessed the conviction.
Yeah, he was definitely about to just kill him.
Ven's life and knocked some sense into Ericus. But then Xehanort showed that he too was willing to make a monstrous sacrifice in the name of achieving his goals.
Yeah, no, you were right.
And with his back turned, Ericus, Xehanort's oldest friend, and perhaps the one man that knew what Xehanort was truly capable of,
Rip, old man,
was struck down by his former lifelong ally. But instead of departing this world entirely, Ericus performed a trick he had seen years prior by Hoda, allowing his heart to remain in the land of the living a little longer as it sheltered within Terra's.
What do you mean a little longer?
A mysterious man had offered
that was in there for over 10 years
along the way, and finally, at the Keyblade graveyard, technically 7 Keyblade wielders would assemble.
Yeah. Just like Odin before them.
They were, of many
Ericus and Xehanort were both terrible
to claim
masters.
the power of Kingdom Hearts for himself.
Yeah.
In order to purge what he saw
wrong.
as a
They were
broken
terrible
world
masters.
beyond repair, and build something in balance anew. For this was supposedly his destiny, to
the most
save the
doomed
world
of
from
Yowies.
darkness by doing what no one else was willing to do. Someone strong.
I don't even like Yowie. Damn, that's the thing. I don't even like Yowie, and these fuckers are doomed
for the weak.
Like they are so
He had
doomed.
been taught this since birth, and his lifetime's worth of experiences only served to reinforce those beliefs. But only after actually achieving his goal, with the legendary Keyblade finally in his hand and the purge begun, did Xehanort finally see the error of his ways. An incredible boy, who had once seemed so dull and ordinary, managed to triumph over him and challenge his beliefs through the power of his friends. A boy who also hailed from the Destiny Islands,
it's there. You can't ignore
the hearts of many others, and
it's just on full display
had saved
here.
the world from darkness. A boy who believed the worlds and their people were worth fighting for, and part of a larger generation that didn't reject the darkness on principle, but had even found ways to coexist and healthily embrace it. Perhaps this child, who believed and accepted that destiny was beyond any one person's control, was the right person to entrust the future to.
Honestly,
the curious
I hate to admit it, but
a
yeah,
chance to explore whatever future
I hate to admit it, but yeah, might be right with that. Sora might have been the right answer.
And with that, I think I have fully explored the story of Kingdom Hearts Dark Road for now. I hope I have really explored why I like this story so much, and how much I feel it enhances the story of so many other games in the series.
Yeah, they flew off together into light heaven together.
The Disney integration
the only way we can really end the series is them flying off into heaven together.
I hope that continues in Kingdom Hearts 4, as it did in many ways during Kingdom Hearts 3. I'd like to eventually explain the entire series in my style.
So wild.
And I think Birth by Sleep would be the next logical place to go to continue things chronologically. So let me know if you would like to see that. Anyway, I'll leave you here for now. Please consider subscribing if you enjoyed. All the best. Bye-bye.
I already subscribed. Oh, this was produced 4 months ago. Oh, wow. Yeah, he made this video 4 months ago. Jesus Christ. Well, we learned, I guess. We learned lore. The cursed yaoi that is Kingdom Hearts Dark Road. Jesus, guys. Wow. Technically, they floated up to hell because it was a dream in reverse. You really want them to go where they belong for being horrible masters. I see. Yeah, we technically learned that racism is bad. Yeah. Kingdom Hearts has taught us that. Jesus Christ, dude. What a time to be alive, that's for sure. Oh man. I'm gonna need to sleep on that. I was gonna do something like after the video, but dang, I got bombarded with so much lore that I need to do something else. Yeah, I need to do something else. Just Jesus Christ, that was woof. Oh man, that was something else. Well, chatters, it's been real, guys. Kick chat, you've been quiet. I appreciate that. TikTok chat, you guys been keeping it up. YouTube chat, you've been doing your thing. And we do appreciate the lore drops. YouTube chat always has like the lore drops. It's crazy. And then Twitch chat, we just keep keeping on. We will admit, though, the fits are fire. Upperclassmen fits are fire. You made a beam on this? Oh, no. Oh, but it's still bit about it. Okay. What's in the box? What's in the box? Yeah, the fits were so good for some of those characters. I'm not gonna lie. Right now, no. But I'm pretty sure whenever we start Melody of Memory, I'm gonna have questions because anything's better than watching Kyrie, honestly. God, anything's better than watching Kyrie. Oh, let me go full screen real quick. Jesus Christ. Yeah, anything is better than Kyrie. You don't watch Kyrie? Well, it's a rhythm game, right? Isn't it a Kyrie rhythm game? Melody of Memory says bait. Oh. Interesting. So it's just bait? Where she gets 2 cut scenes and that's it? Wait. Are you telling me it's mostly just only 2 new cutscenes of information and the rest of the game is just recaps? No way. That's the biggest bait ever for a game if that's true. Hold on, let me walk closer for that. let me walk a little closer for that. Wait a minute. You're telling me that it's just she gets some character development. Okay, but like, is most of the game just recap then? Yeah. At least we get to play a rhythm game. I mean, I guess that's true. I did offload my processing power to something else, so I think Guitar Hero will control better now, but most of the game is musical numbers. You get to progress through the game. Yeah, I know it's like musical numbers, but I thought it was just like old cutscenes. And Kyrie has 2 cutscenes in the game. Oh, even though she's on the fucking cover. She's on the cover of the game. Are you kidding me right now? Are you fucking with me? That's like the biggest bait and switch. Oh, That's so stupid and annoying. That's so stupid and annoying. Bro, that's so bad. Well, I guess it's a good thing it's on the back burner. The lore was good, just too little. Oh man. But I don't like that. I don't like that at all. Lore good, too little. So like I know I'm gonna have to play it. I know I'm gonna have to play it at some point. But the question is like when am I gonna need to play it? Like Kingdom Hearts 4 isn't even like announced. And I was really hoping it. I kind of want to play it. The problem is I haven't bought it yet, and it didn't come with any of the collections. Which is so weird that it didn't come with any of the collections. Also, it's on PC for a chill chat and stream. I guess that's fair. I mean, I'm not going to be able to like the VOD for that stream is going to be nuked into oblivion because of all the music. Most of it can be talked over. Okay, that's fair. Yeah, because I know for a fact, like for sure, that stream is going to be muted into oblivion because it is just Kingdom Hearts music. I'm gonna play it at some point, but my thing is when, since we know Missing Link got canceled, and when I started this whole thing, I thought like Missing Link would be a thing by the time I finished up, at least to this point, and that ain't happened. So yeah, just play elevator music over it. I suppose I could. I could technically mute it for you guys and listen to the music myself so I can still hit the rhythm. I guess I could do that. And yeah, Missing Link was such a good idea too. And we just fucking biffed that, man. Okay, I got to think about how to do it. I'll put it on the schedule for like maybe next month, but I got to think about how I'm going to actually put this together now because this is becoming a whole thing. Quite unfortunate. Well, that kind of leaves Saturday slots open for now. I guess we could play Tears of the Kingdom or something. We're already doing Deltarune on Tuesday. We just finished Pokemon, so now I have 2 slots to fill on stream. Okay, what would you guys rather see? Would you guys rather see Zelda gameplay or like, I don't know. I got tons of other stuff to play. We could always go back through Bayonetta because I technically haven't finished that. Where's my Steam library at? Steam. Because I really don't have like many other long form things, I don't think. Like Kingdom Hearts. I have Borderlands, I guess we could. I wanted to run through Borderlands anyway, so there's that, I guess. Steam's initializing. I didn't have it open today since I wasn't playing on Steam. It's got to use up some CPU here real quick. Okay. Where's my library? My library. My library. All right. We're not going back through Elder Scrolls 5. I can tell you that right now. I've put way too many hours into that game. We're not going back through that. Borderlands sounds like a good name. I mean, Bayonetta, I do have 1 and 2, I think. Let me see here. No, I have Bayonetta 1, it looks like. So yeah, that's good enough. Oh, right. I was gonna get Bayonetta 2, but I was gonna wait for Switch stuff. Right. I'm not playing Bayonetta 3. I can't do that to myself. I'm not playing Bayonetta 3. I can't. I can't. They ruined that game. They ruined the franchise with that. But I think Bayonetta 1 will be fun to play on stream at least. We already been through Devil May Cry 5, so we're not going back to that anytime soon. Borderlands is good in long form since we have plenty of games, so that's definitely getting added to the list at some point. So maybe we do Bayonetta and we do Borderlands? That sound fair? Because I don't think we have like insane lore heavy games left. It does? Okay. At least with Bayonetta 1, it shouldn't take us like forever. I know I'm definitely going to have to restart it because I don't remember any combos at all for that. And I don't feel like hopping in halfway. That doesn't feel right. Hopping into a game halfway after not playing it for a super long time never feels right. All right, let me free up some space. Get rid of Devil May Cry 5 real quick. Okay, well, that's good at least. I was thinking about maybe getting another Nancy Drew game too at some point, so we can do that. Because the Nancy Drew stream was actually fun when we did that. I did that for someone's birthday. They requested that I played a Nancy Drew game for them, and no, that was actually fun. We spent like 6 hours streaming just Nancy Drew. Yeah, the Russian sleeper agent or orca whales are still one of the top tier things. Honestly, can never get over that. Yeah, I got like some silly stuff we can do before stream too, so I think we should build out a little bit. Yeah, I think we got a plan. The what? Yeah, I'm sorry, Liz, but like I could explain to you how crazy that stream was, or you could watch it on YouTube. It's in my YouTube backlog somewhere. I think you should probably just watch that, honestly. It there's so much that went on. The plot twists and turns to get to that point were so crazy. I can't even begin to explain to you how insane it was. How literally insane it was. Yeah, man, it's like it was crazy. Oh man, I normally don't recommend. I normally don't advertise VODs, but that's one of the few VODs I will advertise for people because it made no sense. You could see my sanity leaving me. Your birthday wishes never come true. That means you're not wishing hard enough. Oh, good stretch. Oh, other good stretch. Okay, my hair is halfway dry now. I took a shower before stream, so I gotta like blow the rest of this out. Um, God, so much hair, so much hair everywhere. Okay. All right, I gotta go finish cleaning my shower out and get the hair out of it. But yeah, I will see you guys next stream. It'll be Tuesday for Deltarune, and we will be starting the Snowgrave route. We are gonna freeze that bird boy solid. He gonna be frozen solid. If I got anything to say about it, his creepy ass going away. But yeah, I'll catch you guys later. Bye bye, everybody. See ya. Yeah, you guys have a great night. We're freezing the bird. He's going to be a bird sickle.